What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto stopped and became the most feared villain? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to Roignal, creator of this beautiful creation. I don't know, Naruto-kun, Morino Ibiki said doubtfully, pacing back and forth in the small, dingy room many meters below ground. You say you want to cooperate with me, but you keep lying. I don't like it when you lie to me. It makes me think you don't really want to cooperate with me after all. Please tell me it was just a mistake and you do want to cooperate with me. Naruto was already pale and haggard under the harsh, hot lights, itchy because of the cheap prison grays he was dressed in, and he squirmed involuntarily in the restraint chair as he fought the urge to puke. Oh no. Shit, Ibiki-san, he said, his voice high and shrill with terror. As I told you, in my world, you practically raised me. I fucking know what you can do. I've seen it. You taught some of it to me firsthand. You frightened me in ways I can't even express. Believe me, I've been cooperating. Please believe me. If nothing else, the tears streaming from his eyes indicated that he was an excellent actor. Ibiki said nothing, pacing back and forth slowly, his expression unreadable. For crying out loud, if I was some sort of super spy trying to sneak into Konoha and replace your Naruto, I think I'd have done my homework a little better and not been so blatantly out of place. At the very least I would have gotten the teams right. Gods above, the only way I would have screwed that up would be if I was as dumb as everyone thinks I'm supposed to be, and then that would indicate that I'm really me, right? Naruto argued desperately. Shit, I don't even know who or where I am anymore. Fucking mind games. I hate mind games. By your own admission, you claim to love them, Ibiki noted with faint amusement. You're certainly fouler-mouthed than you should be, Ibiki commented after a moment. You took me to work almost daily. Naruto shrilled, his balls attempting to climb into his throat for protection. Nozomi and Tori and hubby taught me how to curse. Anko gave me pointers. Ibiki shrugged. I don't believe you. I guess we'll just have to try something else to make you more cooperative. Naruto shrieked like a little girl and flinched so hard the chair creaked. Ibiki. The name wasn't so much shouted as said with such a commanding tone of voice that even the master torturer blanched and quickly retreated backwards and to the side, bowing low in apology as the Sandaime Hokage entered the room. Hokage-sama, Naruto said, crying in relief. Oh thank you. Sarutobi gave Ibiki a stern glare, and the burly man bowed again in apology, submitting to his leader. You were to interrogate Naruto one-on-one because he claimed close association with you, not break him, Sarutobi said reproachfully. My apologies, Hokage-sama, I was simply testing his claims. His story has remained plausibly consistent throughout the retellings, and I only wished to check for appropriate responses for the things I could verify. I apologize again for getting carried away, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi raised one eyebrow in inquiry. Either the most magnificent acting I've ever seen, or the truth, Hokage-sama. His reactions to me are entirely consistent with the fear and psychological pain that I evoke among some of our long-term guests whom I have developed a closer working relationship with. Such responses can't be entirely transferred to another interrogator. Facial recognition and voice inflection are too important for subconscious reaction. It's possible he was prepared for the role by someone hanged to look and sound like me, but the likelihood of an enemy getting such a complete psychological profile of me and yet making such blatant mistakes elsewhere do seem unlikely. So if our displaced guest stories are true, then at least in some world, I gave Naruto to you to raise. Sarutobi's voice was flat. It does appear that way, Hokage-sama, Ibiki noted with the closest thing to amusement he ever had. The Hokage, unquestioned military leader of Konoha and all its inhabitants, facepalmed in disgust. Naruto laughed, though it was kind of shrill and unhinged as it faded out. Even Ibiki smiled. Sarutobi smacked Ibiki on the back of the head with the speed of a ninja god. What are you smiling for? Look what you've done to this child. Ibiki paused. Such a casual, insulting gesture should have been infuriating, but the third Hokage's compassion to children was well known, and it wasn't as though he could actually be mad at his leader. If the Hokage decided he needed a good smack, then he assuredly did, and he should contemplate the error of his ways. Of course. So, if I get the blame, he said slowly, do I also get the credit for his successes? Sarutobi frowned, looked at him, looked at Naruto. Didn't answer. Instead, he produced a kunai from somewhere in his robes and quickly released Naruto from the restraint chair. "Thank you, Hokage-sama." Naruto babbled enthusiastically. "I'll be properly grateful and regain my composure in a little bit. Until then, do you mind if I grovel at your feet until I forget how goddamn scary Ibiki-san is?" he asked politely as he fell to his knees and groveled. "Of course, Naruto-kun. Whatever you feel is best for helping you recover," Sarutobi said, unobtrusively helping the boy up and out of the room to rejoin the rest of the genin. "Don't worry, no one's going to hurt you. In fact, we're going to let you see your team again and have a break for a little while." "Oh good," Naruto said brightly, still groveling just a little. "I'd been worried about them, you know. The only good thing about being with Ibiki-san was knowing that, you know, at least it was me, you know. Every time we get tortured I always make sure I get to go first cause I have more experience with it." Ibiki stood quietly out of the way as the Hokage and Naruto rejoined the Anbu guard team and were escorted back out of T&I. After a while, he smiled. He thought the kid turned out great. It had begun as a day completely unlike any other day. All of them woke up feeling incredibly sick and tired, much like a hangover, though none of them knew what a hangover was. It wasn't even like the various times they'd overdone it on Kyuubi chakra and nearly died. There was an incredibly strong sense of disorientation, and a mental fog that made it all but impossible to speak, much less notice that the things around them were subtly wrong. Naruto woke up shivering and aching, couldn't find any of his weapons, his scrolls, or his favorite clothes, and his kitchen cabinets, not that he felt up to eating, were inexplicably stuffed with nothing but instant ramen. To the extent he thought about it at all, he thought Sasuke was messing with him again and had clumsily drugged him with something really freaking powerful. Sasuke's apartment was much the same as always, though under any other circumstances his permanently activated Sharingan would have noticed things being in the wrong place and little details like the place where Naruto had torn the wallpaper being missing. Since he couldn't see for puking for almost 15 minutes, his Sharingan wasn't doing much good. He assumed he was either sick or poisoned, and either way, had to see Naruto and get some of that amazing healing Kyuubi chakra and get it fixed. The hospital never even crossed his mind. Breakfast with her sister and Neji was again as normal. Hanabi barely answered when she spoke to her, which was not something Hinata worried about. Neji was under the weather as well, which caused them both to assume they had caught some illness. They were both polite and formal, as usual, though Neji invited her to cough on Sasuke a few times before she got over it. Ironically, the person whose home life had changed the least was the very person who first discovered that all was not as it used to be in Konoha. "What do you mean, I'm on a team with Naruto and Sasuke?" Sakura exclaimed in complete confusion. First she woke up sick, and now her team was messing with her head. What a terrible way to start the day. Shino and Kiba exchanged glances and slid unobtrusively away from the clearly insane girl. "Sakura-chan, I think we need to get you to the doctor," Kurenai said gently. She frowned. "And possibly your sensei. But you're my sensei," Sakura wailed. Hinata was the one who got put on Team Lai. "Just ask them. We will, I promise." Kurenai prepared to jump on and subdue the increasingly distraught Kunoichi. "But why do you call them Team Lai? We started calling them that when we found out Naruto was just pretending to be an idiot and was actually really smart and talented. He pretended to be an idiot so well it fooled everyone," Sakura explained. "He does play the fool well," Shino noted. "If he's that good at lying, I bet he's lying about being smart, not being an idiot." "Naruto is dumb as a sack of rusty kunai," Kiba countered. "Arf," Akamaru agreed. And then Hinata pretended to be shy and meek and was really, kinda scary. "Really," Sakura admitted with an embarrassed cough. "Sasuke is still cool, though," she hastened to add. "Scary Hinata? This I gotta see," Kiba announced. They finally found the aforementioned Team Lai with, of all things, Asuma and his Team 10. "We thought Kakashi was still gone, and we couldn't remember what we were supposed to do today, so we went to ask Asuma-sensei," Naruto explained. "So you're here, too, Sakura? Well, I'm getting the theme now." Naruto quirked his lips ironically. "Neji did tell me to cough on Sasuke this morning when he thought I was sick," Hinata said quietly. "So I believe it's safe to assume he is a part of this as well." She paused. "Stop sniffing me, Inuzuka." Kiba paused in his circling and sniffing of what should have been his teammate. Well, she looks like Hinata, and she smells like her too, but there's a lot of Naruto all over her. He leaned in and sniffed some more. We're together, Naruto explained. Genjutsu wish fulfillment? Asuma asked Kurenai quietly. She only shrugged. And you really should stop getting in her personal space, Kiba, Naruto continued. Kiba looked up at him challengingly. What, you gonna defend your girlfriend? Even Kurenai and Asuma were too slow, and only partially because of the shock, to stop Hinata. Kiba was rather surprised to find himself on his knees in front of Hinata, the front of his jacket balled in her fist and her palm millimeters away from his forehead. I haven't hurt him, Hinata announced quickly, releasing Kiba as the Junin clearly wavered on whether to treat it as an attack or not. Kiba debated on mentioning the twinges of pain in his joints from the forced movement, but decided that it might be time to shut up after all. It's always hilarious how they underestimate Hinata first, Sasuke noted happily. You see, you have it all wrong. Hinata protects Naruto. He chuckled. Certainly the idiot can't manage to do it himself. Oh, shut up, Sasuke, Naruto grumbled. This is not the time. We've clearly got some sort of weird issue that I'm still betting is some sort of freakish genjutsu. I can't even remember what happened yesterday, much less make any kind of guess why everyone but those of us with a contract seems to be from a similar but different world. He paused and tapped his chin in thought. I'd love to say that there's something affecting everyone who doesn't have a contract, and we're the only ones who remain unaffected because of the nature of our chakra. Ideally, I'd have liked to keep all this quiet until we can figure out what's going on, but the nature of the discovery seems to have created a situation where not just our respective teams, but Asuma-sensei and Team 10, and almost certainly Guy-sensei and his team as well all know about the unusual circumstances surrounding us. Since it really does seem to be everyone but us, and they think we're acting strangely and not the other way around, sadly I foresee a visit with the Hokage and many hours in interrogation. You're right about that, Kakashi announced, appearing out of nowhere. I intend to find out what is going on here as soon as possible. Naruto nodded. Yes, Kakashi-sensei. Can I pee first? No. Naruto sighed. Hey, Hinata snickered once. And so that was the second time I got crabs, Naruto finished explaining. Well, that's quite a story, Naruto-kun, Sarutobi said calmly while he packed his pipe full of tobacco again. And what story did Naruto tell the Hokage? Why, only people lie, gentle readers. I suppose your teammates will tell the same story? The Hokage asked as he puffed his pipe back to life. Naruto hesitated. Well, Hinata would. Sakura and Neji weren't there for most of what I told you. Don't listen to Sasuke, though. He's gonna make himself out to be the hero or something and emphasize all the parts where I kind of look like an idiot. Indeed. Then, while I hear their versions of events, would you care to tell your story again? I believe you said you were close with Morino Ibiki in your childhood? I'm sure he'd love to hear that. I'm afraid that, as of known events, the man has never made a real connection outside of work. Shit, here you go, Naruto-kun. Your friends, safe and sound. You've got 3 hours with them, and then you'll be escorted to different rooms for the night. We'll resume our conversations tomorrow, Sarutobi said, not unkindly. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, concerned as she immediately went to his side and relieved him from the Hokage's company. Yeah, how was it? Even Sasuke had been worried when he found out Naruto was with Ibiki. Naruto's stories of growing up with the man were hardly frightening compared to many of the things they'd done, but Naruto's fear of the man was clearly real. Could have been worse, Naruto evaded. What about you? Everyone okay? He looked around the room to check on Sakura, who sat nervously apart from the others, but seemed unharmed and untraumatized, and Neji, who sat even farther away against one wall, just as calm and composed as ever. All of them, Naruto included, were dressed in drab prison grays, having been quite thoroughly searched and inspected when they were first brought in. They'd been interrogated separately over the course of about 3 days, and although they all needed a good bath and their own clothes back, they had at least been fed and allowed showers and sleep time. This was the first time they'd been brought back together. Sasuke shrugged. Meh, they didn't hurt me or anything, Sakura replied. But, they haven't fixed anything either. This isn't right. This probably would have been quite a shock if I hadn't already realized fate isn't real, Neji noted calmly. The worst part was attempting to explain it to father, Hinata admitted. They have not yet asked us to attempt a summoning as further proof. Yeah, I'm kinda curious if it's gonna work, Naruto admitted. A little scared to try it, admittedly. If it doesn't work, that means everyone else is right and there's something wrong with us. I don't want there to be something wrong with us. I like us. Me, too, Hinata said softly. Sasuke grunted in agreement. I don't, Neji added unbidden. Yeah, I didn't get the luxury of having my team come along on this bizarre mind trip, either, Sakura whined. I'm not talking about being in a world where my teammates aren't the ones I remember, though truthfully I couldn't tell a difference. I just don't like them. Neji elaborated with a gesture at Team Lai. Yeah, well, you're just a bucket of sunshine yourself, Naruto grumbled. But what about me? I don't have my team. Sakura whined. Whichever one I'm supposed to have. She jabbed her finger at Neji. You at least have the same people, right? I'm with people who don't know me at all. They're more concerned about Hinata than they are me. I'm all alone. We're all alone in this cold, uncaring world, Neji agreed. Nothing has meaning, nothing has purpose. Wah. Sakura started crying. Oh, don't worry, Sakura, we're here with you, Naruto said, going over to put an arm around her. We remember the real you, we won't forget you. Just remember all the good times we had together. Why, it seems like just a couple weeks ago when I threatened to kill you, Hinata noted. Good times. Whaaa. Sakura cried. Sasuke is here at least, right? Naruto said in a vain attempt to get her to stop crying as he awkwardly petted her tangled hair. Remember? You were dating the love of your life? That's good, right? It's like a romantic getaway. To another world. How many couples get to do that? It was only one date, Sasuke noted. It's not like I like her. Naruto implored him with his eyes to come over, shut up, and comfort the crying girl. Why are you looking at me like that, Naruto? Stop it, it's creepy, Sasuke complained. Whaaa. Oh, stop crying before I give you something to cry about, Hinata snapped peevishly. There's nothing worth crying about, Neji noted. Nothing is worth anything at all. Naruto looked up at the ceiling, where doubtlessly there would be hidden listening devices, or seals, or something, and sighed. This was all part of some master plan of forcing me to be with my teammates so that it would make me crack, wasn't it? Naruto asked the presumed unseen observer. If so, well played, sir, well played. The next day, the Hokage asked them to tell their story one more time, but this time an abridged version replacing the Kyuubi with a fictional blood limit Naruto had activated, to the assembled groups of Team 8, 10, and Guy's team, as well as their respective teachers and Hinata's father. Sakura's parents did not have nearly enough political power or security clearance to be brought in on the secret, though the Hokage promised her they would deal with that issue privately as needed. Although I agree with Naruto that, under ideal circumstances, we would have kept this as quiet as possible, until we discover a cure, a counter, or some other way to set things right, far too many people know that these 5 genin are not as they should be. We will allow you to return to duty on an extremely limited trial basis, to be evaluated as time goes on. But since you will be working with people you once knew as friends on both sides but no longer trust because of these events, I think it'd be a good idea if you tell them your stories together, here in a secure room. Oh, man, you mean you want us to tell the truth to these people in hopes we'll learn to be friends again? Naruto complained. What kind of freakish friendship is based on trust and honesty, anyway? Normal ones? Ino asked hesitantly. Even Neji joined in the laughter for that one. They told their stories. Team Lai's was by far the most intricate, though Sakura took pains to tell some of the funny events that had happened with her Team 8, which had Kiba and Kurenai laughing now and then, and even Shino might have smiled. The real difference came with the story of their first C-rank mission, which turned into an S-rank horror show that still showed itself in the 3 scars across Naruto's stomach and the intricate tracery of scars that covered Hinata's body. Those scars, disfiguring though they might be, were actually a tremendous relief to the displaced genin, since they were proof that their memories were correct. One little difference nagged Naruto and Sasuke, though. There were fresher, pinker patches of skin on Hinata's stomach and back, where it seemed like the scars had been distorted and twisted. Instead of the original twisty runes devoted to the 7-tailed beast, there was an almost comical depiction of a star-shaped fish cake with a spiral on it. Hinata had, at some point in their missing memory gap, had her scars changed so that they were devoted to Naruto. Admittedly, the Naruto symbol had been carved into her flesh, perhaps by her own hand, but neither Sasuke nor Naruto found that in the least creepy. The description of the Shoggoth was particularly vivid, as well as their various experiences inside the beast. Sasuke used a minor genjutsu, with permission from the adults who knew it was harmless, to give a brief recap of it chasing them out of the swamp, which he still remembered in vivid clarity. "Oh, my, I'm certainly glad we don't have those in our world," Sarutobi said grimly. "Really?" Naruto asked. "No, I've fought some amazing things, including the Kyuubi, but I've never seen or heard of anything like that," Kakashi confirmed, feeling a little proud of his students. They paused to consider that amazing revelation that even some of the fundamental stuff of their world was not the same in the new one. Then, very seriously, Sasuke walked over and gave Kakashi a hug. Kakashi was, needless to say, somewhat freaked out by this. "Best alternate," Hinata began. "World ever." Naruto cheered. "Woohoo, no Shoggoths. Goodbye nightmares, hello sweet dreams. Forget trying to fix things," he said, turning to the Hokage. "Can we stay, please?" They downplayed their role in antagonizing Guy's team, though they did admit that they were kind of jerks as they poked at their weaknesses. Neji's ironic laugh told his team all they needed to know about exactly how bad Team Lai had been. But it hadn't happened to them directly, and as students of Guy, they winced appropriately at the story of how they'd been told to run. "That's all," he said. "Run." Then they explained how they'd been sent to train with Team 10, and how they'd come to honestly like Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji, and tried to make friends with Team Guy again, though Lee was still kinda mad and Neji was. What are you implying?" he asked, affronted. And the last thing they could really remember, they were with Jiraiya the Sannin and on their way to summon Orochimaru from an alternate plane to answer some questions about the nature of Naruto's power, and were really hoping Orochimaru didn't seriously mess with them. Naruto stumbled to a halt in his story and facepalmed. "Oh, shit, we summoned Orochimaru the freaking god. Of course it went bad." He stumbled back and forth for a few minutes, slapping himself in the head. "Stupid, stupid, stupid, stupid. Damn it Jiraiya, that was your idea. You know, under the circumstances, this is probably nothing at all as bad as it could have been," Sasuke noted grimly. "Point," Hinata allowed. "This can only end in tears," Shino noted. "Or hilarity," Tenten countered. She found their circumstances tremendously amusing, and the new nihilistic Neji, while certain to get annoying fast, was at least a change of pace from, "oh no's fate, Neji." "Either way, it'll be troublesome," Shikamaru said with a sigh. "So I suppose the big question now is, do we get to keep our teams, or do we try to conform to how things are here?" Naruto said with a wince. He hated to bring it up, really, but it had sort of been weighing on his mind. He knew plenty about Sakura, but he'd never really worked with her, and he really did want to keep Hinata around. "Although I appreciate that you took care of the me that is native to this world, I'm afraid that your previous perceptions of me as shy, weak, or unaggressive might bias a future teacher-student relationship," Hinata explained quietly to Kurenai. Now, Hinata, if you're going to threaten to murder a sensei every time you don't get your way, I don't know that I want to take you on as a student," Kakashi said jovially. "Besides, it's not just you to consider, there's also Sakura's opinion as well." Hinata looked at Sakura. "Does she matter?" "I'd never have guessed," Sasuke offered. Naruto laughed. Even Sakura found herself sadly nodding. Her fate would be decided by those more powerful than her. Though she'd pretty much assumed it would be the teachers discussing it, Team Lai's contributions were not exactly unexpected. Kurenai frowned at the pale-eyed girl. She realized she really didn't know anymore, though she found she had a good idea of what to expect. She'd always known Hinata was not entirely happy with herself. From her shyness to her lack of confidence, both on and off duty. She'd been trying to teach the girl how to be what she wanted without losing the essential goodness that was a big part of her personality. But this alternate Hinata hadn't gone such a gentle route, and had thrown away literally everything in some monomaniacal urge to cleanse herself of the weakness she'd despised in herself. That was sad, tragic even, but Kurenai had to admit, this alternate Hinata, from her conversations with the girl, did seem happier. Too bad she was such a little bitch. On the other hand, this Sakura girl, she reminded herself almost painfully of her Hinata, and she could easily see how in another world she'd taken the girl under her wing. Perhaps it would be appropriate Kurenai had built her genin team as the ultimate trackers, which might have been seen as odd by the other Junin since she personally had no more than average tracking skills, and was instead a master of genjutsu. It made sense to her, though, since she abhorred the idea of turning her students into perfect little copies of herself, and had not intended to focus on teaching genjutsu. Sakura did seem eminently suited for the training, though. Genjutsu took exceptional chakra control, and Sakura was exceptional amongst even other prodigies. Even Hinata, with the advantages her bloodline gave her, had never had such precise, efficient control. And Sakura already knew quite a bit about genjutsu that she had already taught her. The crux of the matter with Sakura would be, again, teaching the girl to stand up for herself. "Of course your opinion matters," she told the pink-haired girl, glaring at the others. "As does mine, Kakashi's, the Hokage, Hinata's father, Kiba, Shino, and everyone else involved." Kakashi smiled infuriatingly at her under that damned mask of his. By encouraging Sakura to stick up for herself, she indicated a willingness to take the girl, whether she actually wanted her or not. The insufferable bastard now had the upper hand and could make the situation go whichever direction he wanted. Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke all smirked at her, like they'd known she wouldn't let them bully the girl. Oh, those arrogant little shits. Her eyes narrowed. More than anything else, she believed that they'd been taught by Kakashi. They had his mark all over them. Worst of all, the Hokage was there, watching the interactions, silently judging. Of course, he would never fall for such a simple manipulative trick like assuming that just because she did speak up for Sakura, she wanted her, but he was also certainly perceptive enough to see that she wouldn't exactly mind taking her and was wavering on the desire. He would also note their little Kakashi-like manipulations. "Well, I don't know. Sure, you claim I taught you, but what if I have different standards than my counterpart? I look for very specific things in students, and you might not be up to par. I failed every other team that was offered to me for training, except the Team 7 of our world, and Sakura was a big part of making that team work," Kakashi said conversationally. "I'm not going to take you if you don't fit the right mold." "We took the bell test," Naruto offered. "And how did that go?" Kakashi asked, though truthfully he'd already heard it several times. Naruto knew that, of course, but he couldn't very well not answer the man he wanted something from even though the question was redundant. Clearly, Kakashi wanted to hear something specific. Damned if Naruto knew what it was, though. Naruto began his explanation. "You told us to meet you in at the training ground the next day, and to skip breakfast because the training would make us puke. We all got a good laugh out of it too, because, I mean, really. None of us were children. And it's also not like puking up a good breakfast is something to avoid. Now dry heaves, those suck." "Amen to that," Sasuke muttered. "Now, we already knew about the secret," Naruto made quotes with his fingers, "test Junins give to see if they want the team or not, but since we'd only just found out that you were our teacher, we didn't have long to find out anything about you. So after you left I grabbed Hinata and Sasuke. That was when I first found out he wasn't an irredeemable moron, just occasionally an idiot," Sasuke supplied helpfully. "And started checking you out. Since they've been offering you genin teams for years and you've failed every one. We tracked down enough of them to find out that you always give the bell test, and what you expected us to do. After that it was pretty easy to agree to work together to pass." "Didn't quite work out that way," Hinata said quietly. "Yeah," Naruto agreed. We were waiting for you to show up, and all of a sudden Sasuke went nuts inside some private hell, and Hinata started trying to kill me. Naruto suddenly started screaming at me about betrayal and lies and attacked me," Hinata added quietly. "It was the only part of what we experienced that was actually real. That was how I learned that genjutsu can still be used against someone it can't affect directly." "Yeah, Naruto said with a cough. "I hate to admit it, but you had us. You had our ass. I was helpless to save myself," Sasuke admitted. "But Hinata was the one that finally figured it out and started breaking the genjutsu on us. So yeah, I'd say she's pretty damned integral to the team," Naruto emphasized. "And you explained that having the foresight to find out about the bell test was only half the test, and that we had to overcome our personal fears as a team to finish the rest of it." Kakashi said noncommittally. "Naruto refused to kill me even when he thought I'd betrayed him and was honestly trying to kill him in return," Hinata elaborated. Knowing Naruto had deliberately glossed over that part of the story to make her look better, but also easily seeing that Kakashi was unimpressed by his attempt. That gave me the encouragement I needed to look in him, see the genjutsu, and break him out. Then we saved Sasuke. True, in more ways than one, she thought. Well, I'm not the sensei you knew, so that's just not good enough for me. It doesn't seem like I'll take you, Kakashi said, cheerfully crushing their hopes. Things are not always as they seem, Naruto countered back immediately, his hopes not crushed at all. Plenty have said it, you made us understand it. That does sound like something I would tell you. Kakashi mused to himself. Tell? You never told us anything, Hinata demurred. Never taught us a single technique. Never sparred with us, never corrected our forms, Sasuke added. Because that's not how you teach, Naruto finished, giving him a challenging stare. Oh, for crying out loud, just give them a test or something, Kurenai snapped irritably. I know you, and you'll keep going at these word games all day. Meanwhile, I'm going to take my team and go elsewhere. Come along, Sakura. Yes, sensei, Sakura chirped, brightening immediately. Now hold on there, Kurenai, Kakashi drawled. Sakura is still my student. At least on the official record. So I must protest you running off with her without my permission. I suppose there's nothing stopping you from taking Hinata. That would neatly solve our little question of how the teams will be ordered. Kurenai huffed. Oh, fine, but get on with it. I may have all day, but rest assured I don't intend to spend it with you. Sarutobi looked tremendously amused. Yes, Kurenai-san has a point, Kakashi. Perhaps you should just administer some form of test to see if they're suitable to continue learning under a legendary copynin? He coughed. And I should send someone for Hyuga-san. I bet he would like to see the result of this version of his daughter's training under you. A test? Excellent idea, Hokage-sama. I can't believe I didn't think of that, he agreed with a smile. I know just the thing. Everyone meet me at training ground 16 in 15 minutes, I've got to pick up some bells first. Kakashi grinned at them all, then disappeared with a poof of chakra smoke. They were given their clothes and equipment back, Kurenai collected her other two students, and while a runner was sent to invite Hiashi, they all obediently followed the Hokage across Konoha. An amiable stroll through the city with Sarutobi not only making a point of talking to each of them, but also exchanging brief greetings with some of the people they passed. He led them right into a nice restaurant the Hokage liked. No one said a word. It was getting close to noon anyway, and they were all hungry to varying degrees. Naruto's mind practically exploded under the implications of the Hokage buying them lunch before a reenactment of the bell test. Was it a small gesture to help them pass? Something worked out with Kakashi in secret? Perhaps, for reasons of his own, he was messing with Kakashi? He was, after all, one of very few ninja who could conceivably do so without repercussion. Or maybe it was just some sort of nice little gesture seasoned with an ironic reference? Naruto had no idea, so he ordered fish and pickled vegetables and plenty of rice to go along with it as a high-energy meal to see him through the upcoming trial. Both Hinata and Sasuke ordered pretty much the same, though Sasuke always preferred fresh vegetables. Why the hell was the Hokage staring at him like that? Just enough to make it obvious. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Creepy. And unnerving. It wasn't like he ordered something super expensive just because it was on the Hokage's tab. Rice was cheap. That reminded him, he was gonna have to do some serious shopping after things got back to normal. He had nothing but ramen at his apartment. Not that he was gonna throw out all those cup noodles. Be ashamed to waste perfectly good ramen, even if it was instant. So after a good lunch, they continued on to the training ground, meeting up with Hiashi along the way. Sarutobi had earlier confided to the genin that he hadn't invited the Hyuga leader to eat with them because then it would have turned into this big old awkward formal thing, and he didn't want to inflict that on them. Hinata had countered that her father hated eating in public with other people, so he made every event as awkward as possible for everyone concerned so he wouldn't get many invitations. Naruto and Sasuke thought it was funny, but Hinata's deadpan delivery left the rest of them wondering if she was serious or not. Awkward silences all around. Kakashi was waiting with, presumably, a pout by the time they got there. 45 minutes late? Really? He complained. I don't put up with the paperwork and the headaches to wait on other people, Sarutobi said with a smile. And I couldn't let these young people fight on an empty stomach. They shared a laugh. Kakashi turned to the maybe not team lie. So, how about it, kids? Feeling good, feeling ready? I sure am glad you're all chummy with us, Naruto answered brightly. It really reassures us to see that you're the same here as the teacher we knew. Kakashi raised one eyebrow. Sasuke laughed. Sorry, Naruto, he apologized. I just couldn't keep a straight face. It's okay, I was about to lose it too, Naruto confessed. Not everyone can do the poker face like a Hyuga. Hinata didn't so much as twitch. Kakashi hummed softly to himself. Well then, since you're ready, shall we begin? Yes, Kakashi-sensei, they chorused, stepping into the clearing with him. He held up 3 bells in his hand. Since you've already shown that you understand the value of teamwork, let's see the quality of your teamwork, shall we? No tricks, no hidden messages. In order to pass, you'll have to work together and fight me. He hung 1 bell on the front of his vest, right over his heart, on a short string. Let's see, and another here, he mused, hanging another on the bottom left side of his vest, near his waist, and the last. He put the last one dangling from his belt and back. 3 bells, 3 genin. Each of you needs 1 to pass. He grinned at them, and if you think I'm going to go easy on you, you're clearly not fit to be my students. If you want a bell, you'd better come at me as if you mean to kill me. Any restrictions? Naruto asked. Oh, none at all. Kakashi replied archly, grinning. By all means, use your summoning contract. We're all quite curious about what it involves. Pay no mind to the Anbu in the trees, they're just here for the show. They won't interfere. Unless, of course, things got really out of hand, went unsaid. Well, we usually only pull it out if we really need it, and certainly not out in the open where just everyone can see, but in deference to our interested audience, Naruto announced, giving Sarutobi a bow, and another to Hiashi, just in case. The Hyuga leader inclined his head infinitesimally, acknowledging the gesture. The Choshijiro veins around his eyes bulged as he activated his Byakugan to watch the proceedings more closely. Hinata went first. Unlike the standard summoning gesture of biting a finger to use the blood, Hinata extended a tiny lance of chakra from her fingertip, certain her father would see it, and made a tiny incision in the thinner skin on the back of her forearm. Smearing the tiny bit of blood around, her hands flashed through seals, the same seals they'd copied from Kakashi when he summoned his nin dogs. They'd discovered that the seals didn't matter one whit. They weren't channeling chakra, they were receiving it, and intent and acceptance was all that mattered. Naruto grinned as he felt, smelled, tasted, touched, knew the blood Hinata offered, a link between them opened, and a tiny fraction of his chakra flooded her body. The incision disappeared in an instant and Hinata stood just a little bit straighter, feeling stronger, faster, more limber, and overall better as the red demonic chakra rushed through her coils. Her vision expanded and everything brightened, even as her pale eyes turned featureless black. She turned to look at the audience, and all of the genin stepped back. Even Kurenai flinched, and the Hokage stroked his beard thoughtfully. Hinata produced a kunai and held it up in demonstration. The chakra I get from Naruto expands the ability of my eyes. I have no blind spots, a greatly increased visual range, unlimited focus, and I can see the angles where our reality ends and other planes begin. It also allows me to quickly find the entropy point of objects. This kunai was well made, but even the finest steel has tiny flaws in the crystalline structure of the metal. If I pick the most likely one and use my chakra as if I was attacking a tenketsu, she tapped the kunai with one finger, and it crumbled to a dozen shards in her grip, it breaks like glass. This applies to all rigid materials. Sasuke was next, and he simply bit his thumb. The black tomo of his mature Sharingan turned white and began spinning, and immediately his eyes welled with tiny drops of blood from unseen burst capillaries in the sclera of his eyes. I don't have family here I had to impress, so I'm not gonna show off, he said dismissively. Naruto absorbed the rush of pure living energy his teammates had given him in return for chakra and felt himself start to change. His whiskers deepened, his teeth sharpened, and his eyes flickered red. With an effort of will and a sealless henge, he stopped the visual cues before they got obvious and gave everyone a wave. I just get amazing healing, he explained. I actually lose the chakra I gave to them, but since I've got so much, it's not really an issue. I've always wondered why Junin can't share their chakra with their squad, but I guess the ability to share is the only really special thing about what I have. Kakashi just stood there, waiting. Alright team, you know the deal. Like we're gonna kill him, no holds barred, Naruto said with a grin. A grin that the adults present noted was more feral than a child should be able to produce. The henge couldn't hide everything. Kakashi was assaulted with a strange white Tomo Sharingan, empty voids, and piercing blue eyes that hid the roaring red inferno of one world's most powerful demon god. He appeared completely unimpressed. "I've donkey punched prostitutes who put out more killing intent than you three," Kakashi said dismissively. "Ah, but we can also," Naruto countered, and suddenly the killing intent disappeared. A moment later, so did the trio. Kakashi yawned. "I hope they do something soon, or I'm going to fail them for being boring." They started by making clones. A lot of clones. Actually, a clone army of mixed faceless ninja and samurai archers. And they did it far enough away that Kakashi was unable to see it. It didn't mean he wasn't aware, of course, but he couldn't see it. He could see when the sky started to darken and literally 10,000 arrows, shuriken, senbon, and kunai filled the sky, all targeted on the clearing Kakashi stood in the middle of. Kakashi looked up at the descending arrows, which moved deceptively slowly, and widened his one visible eye. "Huh," he commented, and sank into the ground right before the massed projectiles landed. Everything disappeared several seconds after it hit, the impact being too much for the chakra and shadow constructions. A squad of samurai marched smartly onto the field, precise as the daimyo's guard, and came to a stop. The leader, dressed in the white lacquered armor of a lightning country general, saluted the audience. "We knew it would be ineffective, but hearing us talk about some of our earlier training isn't nearly the same as seeing the AWP." The hanged Naruto explained, only to be cut off with a startled squawk as he was dragged below the ground with only his head showing. "Yes, we know we are here to impress Kakashi-sensei, not our audience," a rank-and-file soldier admitted in a suspiciously feminine voice. "We kinda counted on that." The explosion where the clone had been buried through dirt and rocks 30 feet in the air, but the grit was blown away by an enormous hurricane wind that sprung up over their heads. A few of them turned to see a clone wave at them, then disappear in a poof, exhausted by the wind jutsu. Kakashi casually walked back into the clearing, dusting himself off. "I'm waiting," he announced. The trio started attacking in earnest, using many of the tricks they developed for fighting single opponents who were indisputably better than them in every area of combat. Most of the techniques were theoretical, with only some of them having been used in the occasional spar with Asuma. Others came from their fight with Lee, and some they used against specialty fighters like the individual members of Team 10. They tried everything and made up a few more on the spot. Clone Kawarimi, where they would charge in with their real bodies and absorb a few casual smacks by Kakashi in return for a chance to score a hit or snatch at a bell, then be replaced by a clone which had already timed a Kawarimi it performed itself. Team Launching, where two of them would use combined muscle strength to throw the other at Kakashi at speeds none of them could reach on their own. Swapping fighting styles, where Sasuke would pretend to be Hinata, Hinata would pretend to be Naruto, and Naruto would use a jutsu that Sasuke had used previously. Naruto was the least dangerous of them in extremely close ranges, and Hinata was the most dangerous, so they tried to trick Kakashi into letting Naruto in close. Hinata performed the Kaden, Sasuke used his Phoenix Fireball technique. Naruto covertly seeded the field with copies of himself hanged into rocks, kunai, and shuriken, then had them all pop back at once to catch Kakashi in the middle. They tried independent plans. Each of them made clones and took command of a copy team, developing unique plans with their own personality slant. Naruto also had other teams devoted to coming up with different ideas as well. They all exploited the true strength of the Kage Bunshin, that of its ability to think independently. They used dirty tricks. Naruto caught a kunai Kakashi threw at them with his lung, then flopped onto his back and started spasming and spitting up blood. The real Hinata and Sasuke appeared immediately at his side, checked him out, declared the trial over and started screaming for help. It might have worked to get Kakashi close with his guard down. No, not really, not even close. If among the gasps of horror and whatnot from a couple of the audience members, Sakura hadn't giggled. Everyone looked at her. "Thanks, Sakura, we owe you one," Naruto griped as he sat up and they prepared to try something else. He spat something chunky and bloody out and glared at her. "Sorry," she called. After they ran back into the forest, she muttered, "So not sorry, jerks," under her breath. They tried honorable fighting. Yeah, that didn't last long, and is best left unrecorded. The problem was, for all their strength of teamwork, their skills, their advantages, and their ruthlessness. They were a team of genin, albeit with some chunin-level skills, against one of the most obscenely skilled ninja in Konoha. Kakashi didn't even have to uncover his Sharingan, and never used more than the most basic jutsu. This is a test, not a lesson in free jutsu, he told them mockingly, well aware of Sasuke's mature Sharingan and its unknown new powers. And I'm not the one here who has to impress people, you three are. When I want to remind you why I'm the teacher and you are the students, I'll do it in private. He paused, where charges won't be filed against me. However, even avoiding high-energy moves and almost effortlessly keeping up with them physically, Kakashi was only human, with a human's limits. Tired yet? Naruto yelled cheekily after 2 hours. We're not. Every time they run low on chakra, I just give them some more. You didn't set a time limit, sensei. All we have to do is outlast you, and we can even if it takes weeks. We can pull those bells off your snoring ass. Well, that's one strategy, Kakashi mused. They fought more. Runners kept coming by with paperwork for the Hokage, but the limits of his patience were known only to him, and he hadn't reached them yet. Hiyashi left for about 30 minutes, then returned with an even older Hyuga, presumably the former clan leader, because he didn't have a seal on his forehead. They watched Hinata's performance in silence. And then, no more than 20 minutes after they had mocked Kakashi's merely human levels of chakra, all three members of Team Lai gathered in a neat line 5 meters away from Kakashi, who despite their best efforts, still had every bell dangling where he'd placed them. Okay, we passed, Naruto announced. Kakashi actually straightened and looked interested at that pronouncement. In unison, each member of Team Lai lifted their hands, showing off their bells. Within 10 minutes of the start of the fight, Naruto sent more than 100 of his clones into Konoha, secretly led by 4 full clone teams, which had clones of both Hinata and Sasuke in addition to a Naruto clone, and supported by a dozen clones created by him directly, which would be the strongest and have the ability to independently make more than 100 more clones each before they ran out of chakra and ceased to exist. One team and a subgroup of clones was devoted to finding a store selling the exact same bells Kakashi had brought and getting the bells to their real selves without making it noticeable. Another team was devoted to combat engineering, essentially seizing, evacuating the tenants with plausible excuses, mining, and holding Kakashi's building, and by proxy his apartment, in a ready-to-detonate scenario. Still another team was devoted to psych ops, creating plausible copies of Kakashi in publicly visible places all around Konoha. All of the remaining regular clones were sent to hold more than 100 key positions across the village, armed with stink bombs, paint, instruments of vandalism, and carefully worded stories. And the last full team's job was to use Hinata's vision, Sasuke's reflexes, and Naruto's knowledge to infiltrate Kakashi's apartment, make off with his porn, and hold it hostage. It was the last team that was having the trouble. Well, Clone Hinata said doubtfully, scanning the apartment with the full power of her Sharingan, the Kyuubi gifted new vision that theoretically could see anything. Go on, Clone Naruto encouraged. It seems simple enough. She winced at her own hesitation. Clone Sasuke sighed. Well, I only see 27 physical traps and 11 fuinjutsu seals which are probably also traps. On the surface it appears as if he isn't as paranoid at home as he is outside of it. Clone Sasuke shrugged. Well, no one really likes the idea of coming home really tired and having to spend an hour disarming traps before you can relax. You're supposed to be able to rest there, after all. Yeah, but this is Kakashi, Clone Naruto argued. Clone Sasuke looked at him as if he'd just said the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. Well, obviously. But someone has to take the counter-argument or our ideas go nowhere. So, there are only 3 traps on his door. I think I can disarm all of them with chakra and pick the lock, Clone Hinata offered. Clone Naruto waved his hand in dismissal. Until we figure out the rest of this, there's no point. Clone Hinata nodded and spent another 5 minutes staring into the apartment. She even, briefly, skimmed through a couple of the books to see if they inspired her any. Which they did, but not in a relevant manner. There's always the suicide route, Clone Naruto said finally. Find the hidden super trap by tripping it. Are you willing to go in there not knowing what the trick is? Clone Hinata asked. Clone Naruto winced. Not on a bet. Clone Sasuke had been thinking, and finally spoke up. Well, I have an idea. The other two looked at him curiously. Let's, he said slowly, not, and say we did. The other two clones blinked in astonishment. He hastened to explain. You see, the plan involves us taking his porn hostage. So long as our meat selves believe we have, the plan can move forward just fine. All we have to do is report that we have, and not dispel until after the fight, so they don't get the memories of not doing it. We don't, yet we tell them that we did, Clone Hinata repeated, nodding. Haha, way to go Sasuke, Clone Naruto cheered. They don't call you a genius for nothing. That's thinking outside the box. Let's go report our awesome success. Several moments later, they stood together on another building a safe distance from Kakashi's apartment, mindful of the potential for flying debris, and watched as one of the weak, expendable messenger clones poofed out of existence, carrying the information back to Naruto. So, Clone Hinata said brightly. What do we do now? I dunno, Clone Naruto replied. Want to go make some naughty memories for our meat selves for when we dispel? Do you even have to ask? Clone Hinata replied, and together the two of them ran off to find a spot where random Anbu wouldn't catch them making out. Oh, now that's gratitude for you, Clone Sasuke griped. Jerks. You said, each of us has to get a bell, Naruto informed Kakashi triumphantly. Not that we had to get them from you. Also, if you do not pass us, Hinata continued in her quieter, deadly serious voice, we have multiple clones of you scattered across Konoha in highly public locations. All of them sport disfiguring but plausible facial characteristics, and all of them, her empty eyes seemed to pierce right through him, are prepared to lose their masks in a realistic fashion and display said facial disfigurements. Prepare for endless mocking. The fish lips were Naruto's idea, Sasuke informed him. Me? I made the one where you have male genitalia tattooed on your cheek pointed at your mouth. His story is that one of your genin teammates tattooed it on you after you fell asleep, forcing you to wear a mask for the rest of your life. I gave you a dirty Sanchez mustache, Hinata added. In addition, Naruto said loudly, commanding attention, if you do not pass us, we are prepared to wreck your favorite restaurant, bookstore, equipment shop, and dry cleaner. Now, we don't know which one is your favorite, which is why we have teams scattered across Konoha prepared to vandalize and shut down every single business in Konoha. The Hokage narrowed his eyes dangerously at that. The genin might have just pushed their luck too far, at least if they carried through with the threat. And with Kakashi, who knew if they would have to or not. Each team also has a statement prepared blaming the catastrophe on you personally, Naruto added, pointing a finger accusingly. Which would be quite accurate, really, should you fail to admit we've passed this test. In addition to that, Hinata said, layering it even thicker, we have a team placed in your apartment building. Not only can I destroy wooden support members with a touch, we also have enough explosive tags to turn it into a smoking hole in the ground. She turned to the Hokage. Do not worry, for we have already posed as building inspectors and maintenance personnel and evacuated the building under pretense of a gas leak. It was Sasuke's turn again. Ah, but never fear, we would never endanger your pornography in such a crude fashion. We've evacuated it as well, and moved it to a safe location. He paused. A lot of safe locations. He paused again. Holes guarded by clones and Kaden tags are pretty safe, right? He smiled, and it was not a nice expression. I'm sure it's perfectly safe, provided you admit that we passed. You see, Naruto interjected once more as their presentation wound towards a conclusion. You told us that this test was no complicated, and all we had to do was display good teamwork as we fought you. Even if we had managed to wear you down enough to grab the bells, you would have failed us, and rightfully so. There is no such thing as a simple mission. Never allow the enemy to dictate the rules. Never follow any rules for longer than it is an advantage to do so. Always look underneath the underneath. He paced back and forth, gesturing expansively and enjoying the attention on himself. You're too good of a ninja for us to have a real handle on you. We know you would sacrifice your porn in a heartbeat if it was worth it, because you are an intelligent person. But we are prepared to make it more troublesome for you to fail us than it is to pass us and take us as your team. Because you are an intelligent person, and you can see that. He paused one last time, and smiled, this time slowly and ironically. Oh, and this is in no way a bluff. Bluffing is what you do when you're out of options, and believe me, this is far from our last option. He bowed, once to the audience, and again to Kakashi. Kakashi's one visible eye crinkled up in a smile, and he walked out of the clearing without a word. Team Lai fell into line behind him, following their teacher like the good little students they were. I don't get it, Kiba complained. Did they pass or not? If you had to ask, you clearly failed, Shino answered. He turned to grin at them. You see, the other me left a message on each of your bodies for me to find. How could I turn away my own students? Especially since, with your arrival, my own students seem to have disappeared. Hinata turned and scanned each of their bodies. Sasuke did the same, and Naruto raised one eyebrow. Are you telling me that you, in our world, knew we were going to be cast into another universe and get in trouble, so you left a message to yourself telling you to help us out? Not quite that kind of message, Kakashi demurred. But yeah, basically. That, or I just thought you were all dangerous enough, I wanted to be able to keep track of you no matter what. I see nothing, Hinata confessed. Sasuke shrugged. Together, they eyed Kakashi nervously. So be good, okay? Let's hope it was the former and not the latter. He winked at them as he casually threatened to kill them out of hand if they turned out to be threats. Kakashi-sensei, it is you, they cried as they gave him a big group hug. Yes, that's very nice, he said, awkwardly patting them. Now get off me. The rest of the day was spent doing a mission, finding that damned cat again, and Naruto had to be shown the way to his apartment, because it wasn't actually where it was in his homeworld and he'd been too sick and distracted the morning he woke up in it to note its location. This really sucks, Naruto griped. All our work, all our equipment, all our clothes, all our damned hard-earned respect, gone. He waved a hand in the general direction of his closet. Did you see those clothes? I mean, seriously, I like orange, but I've always had some restraint when it came to duty clothes. Was I half blind or what? By all accounts, you were just stupid, Sasuke supplied helpfully. Yes, thank you, Sasuke, Naruto grumbled. And my damned bank account is nearly empty. Not only was I stupid, I either couldn't manage money or I never managed to get much of it. Son of a bitch. He grabbed at his hair with both hands. Hinata stood to one side silently, but in such a way that it spoke volumes. Yes, I know, Hinata. I know your situation is like 1,000 times worse than mine. I saw your grandfather out there, Naruto replied. Creepy old guy. The frown never left his face. I'm not a Hyuga, though, you're gonna have to tell me whether that was the usual Hyuga frown of superiority. I've swallowed my dentures and I can't get them back because I'm constipated. Frown. Or my useless granddaughter has polluted herself with a demon and it makes the clan look bad. Frown. Hinata shrugged eloquently. Naruto stared at her. Really? She nodded. Shit. Holy crap, Naruto, have you looked in your cabinets? Sasuke said from the kitchen. At least it isn't all bad. You've got a ton of ramen in here. Yeah, not only was I stupid as hell, I had impulse control issues as well, Naruto said, sounding defeated. Hormonal issues too. There appear to be dozens of pornographic magazines hidden in your bed, Hinata announced, her black eyes still looking through the world around her. Really? Sasuke asked. Oh, I've got to see what bizarro Naruto got off on. This has got to be comedy gold. He hurried to Naruto's bedroom. In my bed? Naruto asked, wrinkling his brow in confusion. But, I'm an orphan. I live alone. Who would I hide it from? He paused. Don't steal my pornography, Sasuke. Buy your own, he shouted at his teammate. Yeah, he heard faintly through the wall. Perhaps you were instinctually ashamed of your perversions, Hinata offered. Ashamed? Not likely, Naruto scoffed. I can only think of a few things I could possibly be ashamed of, and naked girls aren't one of them. This is a different you. It could be one of the things you are ashamed of, Hinata reminded him. What is that? Naruto said hesitantly, holding his head as all the things he could potentially be ashamed of flooded his mind. I don't even, holy crap, Sasuke shouted in surprise and alarm from Naruto's bedroom. Hinata and Naruto quickly headed that way, but they met him at the door, exiting the room. What happened? Naruto demanded. Naruto, your porn? Sasuke said, stuttering in horror. What about it? Naruto demanded again. It's all men. Sasuke's face was frozen in disgust. It's gay porn. Lies, Naruto said after a moment. Sasuke's expression of disgust crumbled into amused self-satisfaction. Well, yeah, but you totally believed it for a moment, which means you thought there was a possibility it was gay porn. Anything you want to share with us, Naruto? We'll understand, you'll be our precious teammate no matter what. I fucking hate you, Sasuke. Comedy gold indeed, Hinata said quietly, a tiny smile tugging at the corner of her mouth as she returned Sasuke's offer of a high five. You too, Hinata? You too? They really had you working out there, Sarutobi said, amused. He was sitting in his big chair, catching up on the paperwork he'd put off earlier to watch the performance of the genin. Kakashi had finally reported back to him that evening. Kakashi shrugged and scratched the back of his head. Ma, you know, they're really not bad. Making it look effortless was a lot harder than I expected. I'm a good teacher. In another world, maybe, Sarutobi laughed. Your words wound me deeply, Hokage-sama, Kakashi replied. So you don't anticipate any rebellious tendencies despite you not being their teacher? Sarutobi asked. Unlikely. I told them that the me from their world left a message to myself on their bodies so I could keep track of them no matter where they were, Kakashi said with a little smile. And they believed you? The old man asked incredulously. Kakashi's smile grew wider. I believe and I mean both of me, have similar opinions of how to keep them properly in line. I've made something of an impression on them, and they seem quite ready to believe whatever I tell them, even as they try to figure out how I'm lying. They really do have your mark all over them, don't they? And so, my statement is true, and yet a lie in so many ways. Perfect for making them believe exactly what I want them to believe. Kakashi gave him a little bow. And that would be? That I will kill them if they force me to. They are far too skilled with too little regard for others to be given a loose leash here in Konoha. He considered his words a moment, then shrugged. I actually think they'll be very good at missions. By all their accounts, it's peace that leaves them unsure of what to do. We've both seen that before. The Hokage nodded. It was a common problem among the more active members of Anbu, especially Special Junin who specialized in fighting and spent a lot of time out in the cold. I'm sure you can find a use for homicidal little genin with skills far above their rank, perfect shape-shifting, and infinite chakra, Kakashi continued. Sarutobi rolled his eyes. Oh, sure, I happen to have a mission like that sitting in the pile right now, he said sarcastically. Let me just get my secretary to give it to you. I'm sure they'll have it done in no time. Kakashi bowed. Of course, Hokage-sama. I'll get right on it. Oh, don't be an ass, Kakashi. I don't think there is such a mission that calls for their unique type of skills, Sarutobi snapped peevishly. We don't get many missions that call for people we need to have underestimated, or who embody the kind of chaos Naruto's clone army could cause. We're supposed to be the quiet professionals, we don't use child assassins and we stay out of samurai wars. I don't know what the hell we were doing in their world. Kakashi shrugged. Fighting tooth and nail for our very souls, it sounds like. He cracked his neck. Well, all we really need is a mission that's not what it seems to be. Something to teach them a lesson about good deeds being worth more than money would be a good choice as well. Sarutobi paused. Actually, you may be onto something there. We had a guy show up a few days ago trying to hire bodyguards, to keep him safe from bandits and wild animals. He's obviously lying, so we checked him out. He's apparently the mastermind behind some project to economically improve Wave Country, but he's stepping on the toes of a thug-turned-businessman named Gatu. I've been debating on whether to stay out of it or take his C-rank mission and send someone who can actually deal with it. It's A-B rank at least, probably A. Kakashi nodded. Wave hasn't been a big hire lately. A little kick in the wallet could be what they need, and it would be handy if they owed us for it. Naruto's team would be a good choice for that, I think. A little deception to get their interest, and a moral lesson on why free people are better than oppressed ones. That works, then, Sarutobi said, relieved. Something to get them out of Konoha while I deal with the inevitable fallout all of this is going to create. He tugged lightly on his beard and looked out the window at the darkening sky. A shame, though, he said wistfully. Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked. He never could quite predict what Sarutobi was going to say next. I wish Naruto was in here, calling me old man and being cheerfully disrespectful as always, he muttered. This new Naruto, he's very intelligent, and he seems to have a control over the fox that alleviates some of my worries about it breaking free, but he's very polite, you know. He respects you, Hokage-sama, Kakashi replied. True, but under that respect is fear, and I can only think of one reason any for that matter, would give a child, especially that child, cause to fear me. Sarutobi's face was glum. Because it was necessary, Hokage-sama, Kakashi voiced. Sarutobi sighed. We may have gained a useful prodigy, but we lost one of the few truly shining souls this world had to offer. To that, Kakashi had nothing to say. You're not nearly as good at taijutsu as the Ino we knew, Naruto mentioned offhandedly as Ino climbed out of the dirt. I knew we were doing you a favor when Hinata lost that fight to you in the academy. You really got a shot of self-esteem and started kicking some ass after that. Your rivalry with Sakura totally dissolved. I guess part of that was when neither of you got on a team with Sasuke, but at least some of it was how you kicked her ass every time you sparred. Really? Ino asked, feeling proud of herself. Yeah, I mean, you weren't up to any of our levels, but you did really good for not being able to cheat at it like we do, Naruto agreed. How does that work? Ino asked, eyeing Team Light curiously. It was a 2-hour joint training exercise which mostly gave their respective teachers time to smoke and read porn while Team Light taught Team 10. Naruto made 3 shadow clones and walked off. One of the clones spoke up. Exactly like this, for me. Everything I do, the real me will remember. And the more clones there are, the more training I can get done in a day. Hinata and Sasuke just used their blood limits. Ino's brow furrowed. But doesn't the rush of information put a lot of strain on your mind? That sounds kinda dangerous. The clone Naruto looked at her incredulously. Ino, you pull out your soul and throw it at people. It's the only thing I've seen, discussed Hinata since we were eaten by the Shoggoth. Ino looked offended. I'll have you know that's a beautiful and elegant technique. Naruto sighed happily. I'm so glad not everything in this world is different. Never change, Ino. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Joint missions can become great training. If my students do not finish painting their section of the Konoha defense wall first, we will all do 300 push-ups. Guy said enthusiastically. And if my students do not finish painting their section of the wall first, I will make them do 500 push-ups. Kakashi retorted. Hey, Naruto yelled. Leave us out of this. Well, if we fail to beat you at this challenge, we will do 600 push-ups and 600 squats. Guy countered. If they fail, it's 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 squats, and I'll make them do my paperwork for 3 months. And they can't use Kage Bunshin. Goddammit, Kakashi-sensei, will you please stop? Naruto yelled again. Guy-sensei, please, take pity on us. You see, my precious students? Guy asked his team. It is a teacher's job to make his students' lives harder, so that they may learn and profit from the experience. Ah, my hip rival, your youthful fire burns most bright. He paused. 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 squats, 300 laps around Konoha, and they have to volunteer at the Konoha Center for assisting the elderly for 2 months, and that's my final offer. Over the wailing and gnashing of teeth from his team, Kakashi solemnly agreed, then added, you may have won this round, my rival, but the war is not over. So, Naruto began hesitantly. Shino replied. You seem like a professional sort. Shino did not seem to agree or disagree on Naruto's assessment of his character and or businesslike mien. Hypothetically, let's say there's these people. Say, a team whose name sounds suspiciously like Team Guy. Who, due to circumstances outside their control, cannot risk killing people for a while. How much would it cost them to have every old person in Konoha killed? Naruto asked hopefully. Purely hypothetical, of course. Of course, Shino replied. He paused, unmoving, then answered. More than you have. Your ramen fixation has left your account notoriously empty. No, not me. Naruto looked around suspiciously for a moment as he waved his hand in the Anbu signal for quiet discussion. But, say, again, purely hypothetically. Of course, Shino replied. If the person was kinda like me and could give you chakra and powerful eldritch abilities to satisfy your deepest desires, how much would that be worth to you? Would it allow me to kill certain people who have unhygienic partnerships with canines in an untraceable manner? Naruto blinked. Yeah, if that's your greatest desire, I'm sure it'd be something along those lines. Has been every other time. Shino leaned forward a minuscule fraction. I'm listening. They quietly discussed obligations and possible methods for disposing of a large number of elderly Konoha citizens for a while, even as their other teammates and at least a couple of Narutos participated in Kurenai's training. Finally, though, Shino had to decline. No? Why'd you change your mind? Decided you like Kiba after all? Naruto asked. Shino didn't move, but somehow managed to convey disagreement anyway. I simply remembered. Every time I ruin his life, he gives me this wounded look, exactly like that of a retarded puppy you've just kicked, who looks at you with hurt and surprise because it has forgotten the last time you kicked it, but dimly starts to recall that you have kicked it before, and that you will kick it again. He paused. I treasure that look. And so, Team Lai was stuck with a large number of mandatory, voluntary, hours they had to commit to helping the elderly and disabled of Konoha. They were pretty bitter about it, really. They would have totally won, even without shadow clones, if Kakashi hadn't actually picked up a brush and gone over to help paint Guy's side. It seems as if this new daughter of yours prioritizes her team over getting to know her family, the former Hyuga clan head said to Hiyashi, the current clan head, as they took tea together. There was no reproach in his tone, only in his words. I do not believe she has spent more than 12 hours total in the last 5 days here. She is an active member of Konoha's shinobi forces, therefore her duties to her superiors must come before any non-essential duties to her family, Hiyashi replied. He didn't say it out loud, but the elder Hyuga clearly heard that they would wait on seeing her choice between Hyuga clan duties and her duties to Konoha. I have made inquiries and it seems as if, due to the unusual nature of her arrival and abilities, she is being put through a rigorous schedule to help determine her reliability. As if there could be any doubt, Hinata's grandfather replied. Hiyashi chose to take that as a compliment of his daughter. Indeed, her performance against Hitaki Kakashi was most exemplary. Despite expanding her fighting style with lesser techniques, her core skills are exactly what we hope to see out of my firstborn. And even her reliance on tricks and other techniques is simply a set of tools to allow her to get in close enough to be more effective with our style of fighting. I believe there is no doubt as to her reliability. As a ninja, perhaps, his father said grudgingly. She seems competent enough. A shame she never showed that kind of talent and determination before this, whatever happened. But we really know nothing of this other world she speaks of, where the Kyuubi is treated as a god and shares its power with people who follow it. The Kyuubi is evil, and no good can come of associating with it. I sensed nothing but the truth when the boy explained his connection with the Kyuubi sealed inside him. Are you not relieved by the idea that we no longer have to fear the Kyuubi breaking free and laying waste to all we have built? Hiyashi took a calm sip of his tea. Maybe it won't, and maybe it would anyway, the old man countered. But even if it doesn't, that's only a marginal improvement over my new fear that it will use the unholy powers from its world to corrupt the minds and souls of our people. He paused. Not to mention the purity of our blood. We've spent generations upon generations breeding out weakness and keeping strength and purity. Our one attempt to promote a powerful new variation produced the Uchiha, and we see how well that turned out. He rubbed at knuckles gone stiff with age. Black eyes, whatever powers they grant, are the opposite of everything we want to see in Hyuga, much less one in line to inherit leadership. However, self-improvement and establishing leadership over others is exactly what we want to see in a Hyuga, especially one in line to inherit leadership, Hiyashi noted. Are you saying you're going to make her the official heir? His father asked indignantly. By all rights we should have her sealed immediately. That way we'd be sure to have at least some measure of control over her. He didn't shout. That wouldn't have been very Hyuga. I did not say I was going to declare her the official heir, Hiyashi demurred. Officially, she never stopped being the heir. As firstborn, she has that position. We simply delayed much of the process to see if her suitability would ever outstrip that of my youngest. Well, it's certainly decreased with this new event. She's not even your daughter anymore, Hiyashi. She's not even a Hyuga as we are. We should have her sealed. If she isn't a natural Hyuga, then there are others who would argue we have no right to place a seal on her, Hiyashi noted. His father sat back and thought for a moment. Hiyashi didn't say he thought that way, because, really, what right-thinking Hyuga would? However, he had a point. If they cast her out of the main family for not being a real Hyuga, that would give the girl a political angle to sharpen into a potentially dangerous edge. No, better to keep the girl as a true Hyuga. And seal her for deficiencies elsewhere. I simply maintain that with her loyalties compromised by some sort of summoning contract with the most evil entity we've ever fought, she is hardly the kind of shinobi we want in a position of power in our clan. Hiyashi sat there for several long minutes, calmly sipping his tea. It was really quite excellent, as always. I am not advocating for or against, he said finally. But we had no plans to decide for or against Hinata at this point in time before this change, so I am advocating against rash decisions. We have entirely too little information. We will wait, and watch, and judge. If, as seems to be the case, the compromised loyalty cuts both ways, the allegiance of not only the last Uchiha, but the Jinchuriki and the associated demon, or god as they claim, is a factor we cannot afford to ignore. For good or more likely ill, the former clan head muttered darkly. His son was right, he would have to take that into consideration before they sealed her. The boy would certainly be a force to be considered, and he was entirely too tricky to have shown them all his tricks. The Hyuga clan was mighty and steadfast, but the Kyuubi was one of the few things that seriously scared him. Disgusted, he pushed his teacup away. It had gone cold and bitter. And there is no time for such things right now, Hiyashi continued. I've received word from the Hokage that he is sending them on an extended-length mission to judge their performance in the field. They are going to Wave Country on a mission of deceptive importance and will not be back for a minimum of several weeks. I've been assured that I will get a copy of the mission report when they return. Perhaps the information contained within will aid me in a decision. The former clan head could only nod at the subtle reminded that it would be Hiyashi's decision, not his own. He was included out of respect for his position and wisdom, not because his son was weak or indecisive enough to require his input. And below the two of them was the council of all the Hyuga line's elders, a group of around a dozen branch members who had split off from the main family in separate occasions over the generations, having their own children and descendants. They were there to serve, yes, but they had their own accumulated wisdom and concerns, and would be included in major decisions. With enough support, perhaps he could get his son to see things his way. Hiyashi drank his tea. It was really good. Team Lai waited patiently outside the Hokage's office. It was another one of those creepy little things about the new Naruto, thought one of Sarutobi's Chunin secretary guards. The old Naruto would have been pacing, drumming his fingers, tapping his feet, complaining, something. He had too much energy not to. But this new one just sat there as if he was a real ninja or something. Creepy. Also creepy was the eerily silent young Hyuga girl, who wore her hite aid over her eyes for some strange reason. She seemed to have no trouble seeing, though, or perhaps she was training her blind fighting skills. He rather figured he'd have heard if the eldest main branch daughter had been blinded in some accident. Come in, students, Kakashi said as he stuck his head back outside the Hokage's door. Obediently, they rose and walked inside. Tazuna-san, these are my students, Kakashi announced. They might look young and dumb, but I assure you, they are fully qualified Konoha shinobi, as hard as it is to believe. The old man, Tazuna, squinted at Team Lai and exhaled a cloud of alcohol in their direction. I dunno, are you sure they're up to the task of protecting me? Hair, blondie, and some little blind girl? Oh, quite, Kakashi said with considerable amusement. They're more than suitable for protecting you from any bandits or ferocious animals you might come across. And Hinata-chan actually sees very well. She's from a clan known for exceptional vision. Ah, yeah, Tazuna said doubtfully. They don't look like they could protect a child from the monster in his closet, much less against thieves attacking on the road. Oh, we'd be perfectly suited for that, Naruto assured the half-drunken man with a toothy smile that might have been intimidating if Tazuna had noticed it. Monsters and demons are sort of our specialty. Don't worry, Tazuna-san. Kakashi-san is a Junin of some skill, so he will have no trouble protecting you from any unforeseen dangers, Sarutobi assured the old man. He means this, right? Sasuke asked, just wanting to make sure. Kakashi-sensei is there to make sure we don't kill him? Tazuna stared at them in surprise. Was the boy threatening him? Hinata raised her hite aid onto her head and stared at Tazuna with two eyes like holes in reality. Black voids that seemed to invite the witness to fall into a soulless screaming abyss in the vastness of nothing at all. Accompanied only by a half-imagined random piping not actually heard. Music for things not at all human. Gah! Tazuna cried, flinching back. Kakashi is making a joke at our expense, Hinata explained in a toneless, flat voice nearly as creepy as her eyes. It's funny cause it's true, Naruto said with a happy sigh. After they left the Hokage's office, Kakashi gave his team their orders. Okay, my cute little students, we leave it. He made a show of obviously looking Tazuna over, the crack of 9 in the morning. I want you outfitted for a trip of at least a month's duration, though I suppose it could take longer than that if something, I don't know, unforeseen happened. Tazuna coughed and picked at his nose. The smell of alcohol tripled with each forceful exhalation. Naruto tried not to recoil at the assault on his nose. And to help you outfit yourself, here's a requisition note for you three. Kakashi handed over a slip of paper. Naruto took it and read it quickly. Wow, and it's even good for approved supplier shops, too. Awesome, you've never given us one with this kind of authority. He looked up hopefully. Does this mean we can resupply all the personal equipment we ended up without in the move and combat loss it into our pockets? Kakashi smiled indulgently. Of course, Naruto. What are approved requisition forms for, after all? Thanks, sensei, they chorused happily. Tazuna watched this display of childlike cheerfulness with furrowed brows. You were joking, right? Tazuna asked, stepping close to Kakashi and dropping his voice to a whisper. About protecting me from them? Feeling mischievous, Kakashi decided to elaborate. Well, they have promised not to kill clients anymore after what happened to the poor Higurashi family. Why? What happened to the poor Higurashi family? Tazuna asked in horror. They were having a little religious dispute with their neighbors that divided the family and pit son against father and brother against sister. My students killed the survivors of the schism, Kakashi replied innocently. Gah, one time and they never let you forget. Naruto complained. Of brutal murder? Tazuna asked, seriously wondering if maybe he should ask for another team despite being told by the Hokage that there were no other teams available. Still just one time, Naruto insisted. They were clients, Naruto, Kakashi said gently. Still just one time we brutally murdered our clients, Naruto insisted stubbornly. Tazuna paled even further. Besides, they had it coming, Naruto said dismissively. They totally lied to us about the mission parameters. Goddamn C-rank mission turning into some unholy S-rank nightmare with monsters and lies and betrayal and all of us almost getting killed. I'd have tortured them to death myself. Except Midori, Sasuke said sadly. Except Midori, if it wasn't for the fact that we were too busy to take our time and they all kinda died before we got a chance to really make them suffer, Naruto said emphatically. So don't cry for those assholes. You lie about the mission, you get what you deserve. Ah, yeah, Tazuna said in a very small, faint voice. I'll keep that in mind. Kakashi couldn't physically grin any wider. As it was, his eye had nearly disappeared into a slit, he was so amused. Ah, well, off with you, kids. Get a good night's sleep. He waved them off. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. See you in the morning. Naruto said cheerfully, waving as the trio walked off. Tazuna watched them go, then turned to say something to Kakashi. Kakashi wasn't there. Oh, great Kami, any and all of you who'll listen, please let me survive this, Tazuna begged. So why do you think Kakashi-sensei wanted us to scare the hell out of our client? Hinata asked. I don't know, Naruto admitted. There seemed to be an in-joke thing going on between Kakashi-sensei and Hokage-sama. I know I should be spending more time trying to figure it out, but I bet we have some time before it becomes critical and I strongly suspect we'll need more info. I'm just gonna drop a clone behind to watch the old guy. Now come on, free weapons. Yay, free weapons. And Team Lai had a very good evening buying things to kill people with on the village's tab. 178, 179. Lee counted, breathing easily and rhythmically as he did one-armed push-ups. Neji was silent as he stabbed 2 finger strikes at a log, spinning and darting around to strike from different sides. Tenten worked on power, attempting to throw small weapons hard enough to smash completely through a 2-inch slab of wood. She'd have called it impossible, because 2 inches of hardwood was pretty damn tough, but Guy could put a kunai through a tree with no chakra tricks, just brute force, yet still be accurate enough to hit a coin from across the training ground, so there was nothing to do but train harder. Guy himself was matching Lee push-up for push-up, and randomly calling out encouragement to the other 2. This was the scene Naruto found when he ran into the training ground early in the morning the day they were going to leave for Wave. Guy-sensei, Naruto called. Pardon for the interruption, but could I have a word with Lee-san real quick? Guy paused his push-ups and considered the question. Well, provided Lee wishes to have a word with you, Naruto-kun. Warily, for he'd heard the story of his treatment at Naruto's hands in the other world straight from an entirely non-biased source, that is, Neji, he stood up and dusted off his hands. I suppose it would be rude of me to not even listen. Hey, great, thanks, Naruto replied. I'm gonna be out of town for a while, or I'd take care of it, but you see, there's a girl who needs your help, Lee. Despite himself, Lee was interested. What kind of help? He asked in what he thought was a guarded fashion. Great, I knew you'd be all for it, Naruto cheered. Over by the upright training log, Neji face-palmed. Lee, you're so obvious, he muttered. Her name is Ino, you should remember her from when we were all getting debriefed, Naruto explained. If you don't, she looks like this. He quickly transformed into Ino, did a quick spin around, then dropped the henge. What kind of help does she need? Lee asked. I'm afraid I know nothing about this youthful Konoha flower. Yeah, flower is right, Naruto agreed. Her family owns a florist shop, and she works there sometimes. But that's not really relevant. In our world, Ino had come to a realization much like you, that hard work makes you better. She was actually pretty decent at taijutsu. Here, she's? Naruto paused, thought about it, then shrugged. Well, to put it as nice as possible, she's terrible. Relies too much on family techniques, which admittedly are pretty badass, but limited in scope. She needs someone like you to teach her the value of hard work and maybe kick her in the ass and get her to training the right way. Tenten had long since stopped throwing knives to stare at Naruto, and now she was really surprised. What's in it for you? She blurted. Lee glanced at her, then back at Naruto. Naruto shrugged. Me? Nothing specific. Hinata owed the other her 2 favors left out of 3. We discussed it and decided to transfer the favors we owe over to the new one. I always support Hinata, of course. But really, it's just sad to see a kunoichi who was pretty good in our world just be sad and pathetic here. Even Sakura, our Sakura, that is kicking her ass here, and that rivalry had long since gone Ino's direction in our world. Now Sakura doesn't have any female friends to push her. You remember Sakura, right, Lee? Pink hair, cute? He transformed into Sakura. I remember her, Lee admitted, thinking the idea over. He didn't take his eyes off Sakura. Please, Lee-kun, won't you help my friend so she can be my eternal rival again? Sakura asked, balling her hands under her throat, wiggling her hips, and giving Lee doe eyes. Lee's vision was suddenly cut off by Tenten, who had to act to save her teammate from himself. Well, actually from Naruto's devastating knowledge of how to push buttons. Cut it out, Naruto, Tenten ordered. Coercion is not cooperation. If you take away his ability to think rationally, we're not going to let him make the decision to get involved in your schemes. Naruto obediently shifted back into the subtly taller, more well-built, slightly older version of himself he preferred. Alright, fair enough. I know I've earned no trust here, but here's a start. Check it out. Heck, Tenten, you might want to get involved too. I remember another Tenten who was damned good at everything about being a ninja, but had one minor complaint of having no female friends she could relate to. Too much of a Sazush fest around here. He jerked his head at Lee and Guy. It was, probably, coincidence that Neji was the other direction. Probably. Ino isn't much of a kunoichi right now, she's really more of a fangirl I guess, since she keeps hanging off Sasuke, but I know she's got potential to be more. Check it out while I'm gone. Plot against me, hell, I don't care. But both Ino and Sakura could use some guidance on how to become a real kunoichi, and as much as I love Hinata, she's, well, a psycho bitch from hell? Tenten asked. Hey, that was uncalled for, Naruto replied indignantly, and surprisingly even Neji made a noise of agreement. Tenten blinked and glanced at Neji. Oh, sorry. I retract, psycho, and offer, obsessive, as a replacement. That's more accurate, Neji allowed. Anyway, Lee, you might want to take a look at Shikamaru and Choji as well. Choji's so nice even I can't bring myself to make fun of him, and he's got plenty of youthful spirit, too. Shikamaru, though, is the laziest genius I've ever seen. Do the losers of the world a favor and beat the hell out of him, okay? I like the guy, but damn. Just, damn. Move sometimes, will you? He shifted slightly. On the other side, there's Kiba and Shino. Shino is kinda quiet, you probably won't see him much, but Kiba and his dog love to run, so you might find a training partner there. Guy stepped up, eyeing Naruto speculatively. Are you actually giving my students a mission to make friends? He asked, slightly incredulously. Naruto shrugged. Only if they want to, at their discretion. But hey, you know? New world, new people, you might even say I've turned over a whole new leaf village. Everyone here seems almost casual about things compared to our world. It's weird, it's kinda unnerving, but I can see an attraction there. Imagine living in a village where you can trust your friends at your back. It's such an insane concept, I just want to reach out and grab it to see if it's even possible, Naruto explained. You have got the weirdest concept of trust I have ever seen in a person, Tenten told Naruto seriously. Hinata, Neji said quietly. Except Hinata, she added. So maybe I am weird, Naruto admitted. I'm from a world you may not understand. And maybe sometimes I let funny get in the way of being nice, and I'm sorry about that. I'm not perfect, I've messed up before, big time. But I've never betrayed my friends, my village, or my promises. And I'm also gonna be gone for like a month, so you can check out my story without my interference. Even my cage bunshin can't work here as far away as we're gonna be. Guy grinned at Naruto. That's the most youthful thing you've ever said, Naruto-kun. Admitting you have a problem is the first step to resolving it. I fully support this mission to make friends. He turned serious. Only after duties and training, of course, but just as teammates make extra training more fun and effective, a few new faces can really light your fires. Great. Well, I gotta go meet my team and grab my stuff. See you later, I'm gonna dispel now, Naruto said politely in farewell. He tapped himself on the head. Nothing happened. Oh, yeah, that's right, he said, rubbing his head in embarrassment. I'm real. He bowed to them, turned, and ran back towards Konoha. Neji made a small sound of disdain. He forgets I'm from the same world. No, he's just weird. Hey, we ready? Naruto asked when he met up with Hinata and Sasuke outside his new apartment. Both were carrying small backpacks, thanks to the use of storage scrolls, and dressed in new clothing. Hinata still wore her forehead protector over her eyes, since she'd been hitting the Kyuubi chakra consistently ever since the bell test. Yeah, just gotta wait on Kakashi-sensei for a few hours and we can get going, Sasuke agreed. How'd they take it? Suspiciously and borderline hostile, yet intrigued and willing to listen, he answered. Pretty good, really. Made sure they knew I was real. The respect thing of actually showing up in person, that kind of thing. We'll see what fruits our efforts bear in a month or so. They started walking towards the East Konoha Gate, where presumably they would meet Tazuna and go off and have wacky fun-filled adventures and maybe kill someone. Naruto. Naruto-kun, came a call from a strange voice. They looked over to see an elderly man behind the counter of a ramen stand waving a ladle enthusiastically. Naruto-kun, it's been so long I thought you were dead. Yeah, sorry about that, I've just been really busy. Naruto called back. Missions and training and stuff. Actually, I'm on the way to a mission right now. Oh my, well, I'm sure you have time for a bowl before you go. It'll be right up. The man turned and went out of sight into the back of his stand. No, that's, shit, Naruto said weakly. I don't know this guy's name, there's no way I can pretend to be someone who apparently ate here often, he hissed and panicked to his friends. Ichiraiku, Sasuke said quietly. We ate at the one in our world that time, remember? You had other things on your mind. The guy's name was Tucci, Hinata said, equally quietly, drawing upon her training to remember the name of a guy she met once, in passing. It was an important skill for someone set to inherit the politicking of the Hyuga clan. Oh, Naruto said in a very small voice. Yeah, I did have other things on my mind that night. He paused. That was good ramen. And apparently you're the kind of person to eat a bowl no matter what, so you better maintain cover, Hinata pointed out. Together, they walked over to the stand and took seats. Tucci glanced at Sasuke and Hinata. And what would you two like? He asked, already having apparently dished out a bowl of Naruto's favorite. Crab, please, Hinata said quietly. Pork, Sasuke ordered. Ah, Tucci-san, Naruto began, hoping that he sounded enough like his local self. One of the reasons I haven't been around lately is my team got restructured. I'd like you meet Hinata Hyuga. He paused. Sasuke had been the same in this world, but... And Sasuke's still here. Good morning, Tucci-san, Hinata said quietly, seeming to look at nothing. Sasuke muttered something appropriate. Ah, that's unusual isn't it? Tucci asked as he got the other two orders ready. Naruto chuckled for a moment, looking down at the counter, then looked up and gave the old man a look. It was a look where he tried to put all the horrors, comedy, weirdness, loneliness, and hope in his life in a single expression. "Are you okay, Naruto?" Tucci asked. "You haven't been drinking expired milk, have you?" Naruto sighed and accepted his bowl of ramen. "Let's just say it's been a long, weird series of events the like of which you wouldn't possibly understand, and leave it at that." "What, you mean growing up as an emotionally damaged child assassin in another world and somehow winding up here where everything and everyone is slightly different?" Tucci asked innocently. Naruto's chopsticks froze in the process of bringing ramen out of the bowl. Naruto turned to Sasuke. "Do I have some sort of sign on my back telling people to mess with my head? 'Cause if you put it there, you can at least take it off." Sasuke shrugged. Tucci laughed. "It's okay, Naruto-kun. The Hokage told me personally. Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret. Only my daughter Ayame knows, and that's because you've been my best customer for most of your life and we've come to know and like you despite your circumstances." He chuckled again. "Aren't you glad I told you before you put ramen in your mouth? It's cool now, by the way." Naruto looked down at the wad of noodles in his chopsticks. Sure enough, they'd been out of the bowl long enough to cool. He ate them as politely as he could. "Wow, you really are from a different world, aren't you?" Tucci said in wonder. Naruto shrugged helplessly. "What, I ate like a pig?" I would have said, enthusiastically. He laughed. "Don't worry. Here, you're always welcome. Even if you're a new you." The three of them ate quickly, and Tucci seemed surprised but resigned to see that Naruto had eaten only the one bowl. "Listen, Tucci-san, I'd love to stay and talk some more, but we really do have a mission we have to leave for," Naruto explained reluctantly. "It's okay, Naruto-kun. It gives you a reason to come back, right? Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for introducing me to your teammates. I'm glad you found some friends in your world, even if we never met." "Actually," Naruto said, fighting the urge to fidget, "we did meet once. Your ramen was really good in that world, too. Thank you, Tucci-san." Sasuke and Hinata paused and let him have his moment. Naruto bowed awkwardly, then hurriedly slapped some money down on the counter, more than enough to pay for the meal. "Thanks for taking care of me." And then he ran off before anyone could see him blush. But of course, Tucci knew, Hinata knew, Sasuke knew, and even Ayame, hiding in the back of the kitchen, knew. None of them said anything about it. Naruto had his game face on by the time they reached the gate. Sometime later, after thinking about it for a while, Tenten ventured to ask her teacher a question. "Was Naruto lying, Guy-sensei?" she asked. Guy laughed indulgently, having expected her to ask eventually. "He thought he was," he replied negatively. Lee nodded. Tenten did a double-take. "What do you mean, he thought he was?" she asked, looking confused. Guy walked over and patted her on the shoulder. "Tenten, Naruto was taught to be a ninja 100% of the time by someone who manages to do it almost 99% of the time. No one sane manages it 100% of the time, and despite his quirks, I believe Naruto to be sane. However, look at it from his point of view. He's lost his home, his acquaintances, his superiors, and his very world itself, only to find them replaced with people and places just a little bit different. His sense of familiarity must be screaming at him wherever he goes. I don't blame him for wanting to create a situation he can feel more comfortable in." Tenten nodded slowly. Guy's words made a lot of sense to her. Lee spoke up. "What about Neji-kun, Guy-sensei? Shouldn't we be making him feel more comfortable too?" Guy patted Lee on the head. "Who is to say that's not exactly what we're doing, Lee-kun?" Lee looked over at Neji. Neji shrugged. "Until they came and got me, I didn't have a clue this wasn't my world. I'd have figured it out eventually, but other than that." "Ah, poor Neji-kun," Tenten said with false sweetness. "He does like us." Neji sighed, gave them a long-suffering look, and went back to his training. The weighted cloth net spun out silently, and dropped on the cat right as it finally realized they knew where it was and bolted from its hiding place. Immediately the cloth started thrashing as the cat panicked and yowled, but a small white dog landed on it at the end of an impressively long leap, fastened its jaws on the back of the cat's neck through the cloth, and growled menacingly despite its small size. The cat didn't immediately stop struggling, but it did quit violently thrashing. "Nice throw, Kiba," Kurenai said approvingly. "And good timing with Akamaru." "Yeah, great job, Akamaru," Kiba said enthusiastically as he landed beside his dog and used the cloth to form a tight sack around the cat. Akamaru released it and backed off. He was perfectly willing to tangle with the cat, since he was a bred ninja dog, but the cat actually did outweigh him by about a half-pound and was notoriously ferocious when backed into a corner. Brave didn't mean stupid, and he much preferred to have some layer of protection between his tender ears and that cat. And very good job, Sakura, Kurenai noted with special praise. Those charts you made of Tora's escape and hiding patterns are proving very accurate. You are an asset to the team. Sakura blushed and thanked her. Later, after the cat had been turned in and Kurenai had largely left them to their own devices, they trained together, as they generally did. Shino and Kiba were prone to a certain amount of bickering, but they actually worked well together. Both of them essentially worked off of scent, but while Shino's bugs were actually more sensitive to the slightest traces left behind by the touch of a hand or shoe, Kiba and Akamaru had noses that picked up scents on the breeze. Shino could follow a trail directly with great precision, but Kiba was better at determining position spatially. Sakura was getting pretty good at tracking based on sight, but it was her wide-ranging knowledge and perfect memory that allowed her to not just track, but outthink her quarry. At least, that had been her old role in her world. Now, she was still feeling out her place in the team, with neither Shino nor Kiba entirely sure what to do with her. She was quieter and more polite than the Sakura they remembered from the academy. Of course, Sakura was always polite to teachers and other students, but her rivalry with Ino had left her shrill screams echoing across the schoolyard far too many times for that illusion to stick, and her violent rebuttals of Naruto's repeated attempts to ask her out put to rest any pretenses of demure she might have once had. Kiba picked up on it the most, with the pack instincts all his family possessed. He picked at her, he joked with her, he looked up her skirt, he accidentally groped her, and Akamaru peed on her foot. In response, she cried. He kind of felt like a jerk. Protective instincts welled within him. He poked at Shino a couple times, and Shino covered him in biting Kikai bugs. He rolled around on the ground scratching under his clothes and screaming, Akamaru doing the same thing right beside him and howling even though he didn't have any bugs on him. He and Shino had an unspoken agreement where Shino didn't hurt or make fun of Akamaru and he didn't tear out Shino's throat with his teeth. Until Sakura stopped crying and giggled at their antics. Akamaru climbed up in her lap to be petted and Kiba patted her shoulder and Shino kinda loomed over all of them. And they were a team again for the first time. Shino might make fun of his intelligence or habits, but if there was one thing Kiba understood it was how to be a healthy pack. Team, pack, same thing as far as Kiba was concerned. That was fun, Sakura commented as they started their unsupervised training. I haven't done that in a couple of months, and I never thought I would again. Sensei didn't want us practicing our tracking skills on the filthy cat anymore? Kiba asked. Sakura shook her head. No, it's not that, well, we didn't get it all the time, so Team Lai got it a couple times, and they helped solve the problem permanently. Oh, they killed it, Kiba replied, nodding in approval. No, Sakura exclaimed, they didn't kill it, we did. A more satisfying outcome, Shino noted. Sakura huffed in frustration. No, I mean, we didn't kill it. We just made it not run away anymore. They just offered some advice on how to do it. Kiba mused. At any point in this story did I get to pee on the cat? Yeah, actually, Sakura admitted. Yay, story time. Kiba cheered and flopped down into the dirt to listen. Hey, Sakura-chan, Ino called and waved as all of Asuma's two combined teams filed into the administration room that afternoon. Naruto waved as well, and Choji, but other than a grunt from Shikamaru no one else really seemed to acknowledge Team 8. Hey, Ino, Sakura waved back. Turning in or getting one? Choji held up a heavy burlap sack that occasionally shook violently. Tora again. That damned cat? Kiba complained. Well, I guess I know what we'll be doing again tomorrow. He always escapes the same night. Yeah, catching the little bastard every time he escapes seems like a fool's errand. We should fix the underlying problem, not the symptom, Naruto said aloud. That would be the logical conclusion, Shino agreed. The assembled genin traded looks, all sharing one thought. Well, almost all of them. Leave me out of it, Shikamaru announced. Well, you know, Choji said with a helpless little shrug, and followed his friend. Ino watched them go, then tossed her ponytail. Oh, forget them. I'm in. What do we do? The underlying problem is that old fat lady is cruel and heartless. I'd run away if she tried to hug me, too, Ino announced. They had retreated from the all-too-public scene of the administration building to a quiet rooftop a dozen blocks away, and did a customary scan for eavesdroppers. It was still mid-afternoon and they were technically on their lunch break before rejoining their respective teachers. There was plenty of time for a little permission planning. She did try to hug Akamaru once, Kiba said with a shudder. He had to pee himself so she wouldn't crush him. Akamaru made a sad little whine and ducked his head inside Kiba's jacket. "It's okay, boy, I won't let the bad lady hurt you," he said comfortingly and stroked his dog's ears. Addressing the true underlying problem would appear difficult, Shino noted. "Yeah, if we start mindfucking the daimyo's wife, we're probably gonna get in trouble," Naruto agreed. "That just makes it a challenge," Sasuke argued. "Sounds like one worthy of our skills." "Oh, please, you know he's getting his on the side," Sasuke argued. "I dunno, maybe he likes his wife kinda heavy?" Ino spoke up, feeling the need to, in a way, defend people's right to be heavy. There was silence. "Haha, as if, haha, most amusing. All you men are pigs," Ino informed them. "Aru," Akamaru replied insultingly. Kiba sniggered. "We can't mess with her head, so what about the cat? Maybe we can convince it to like the way she treats it?" Sakura said hesitantly. "Turn the cat into a masochist?" Naruto replied. "That has potential, I suppose. Quit being crude. Cats do not typically enjoy pain. Unlike dogs, they have sense enough to flee the hand that hurts them," Shino said. "Bah, cats are dumb as hell," Kiba countered. "Dogs gang up and kill the owner of the hand that hurts them." "But, if you cannot be loved," Sasuke began. "Be feared," Naruto finished excitedly. "That's it. The problem is, the cat knows that, whatever happens to it outdoors, with us chasing it and everything, it's better than going back to the daimyo's wife. It knows that, and so it will never, ever stop trying to escape. But if we were to turn that around, and suddenly the wild is a horrible, scary place, it will never want to escape again." "Exactly. There will probably be some incidental psychological trauma, possibly manifesting as physical or mental quirks, but that's not really our problem now, is it?" Naruto's grin was positively evil. "So how do we condition it to believing the outdoors is scary?" Sakura asked. Kiba suddenly started laughing. "Oh, no, wait, don't tell me. I got this one. This is gonna be fun. I hate cats." The wire and twine trap made a soft, tong sound as its stored energy cinched a small net around Tora just as the cat stepped off the daimyo's house grounds. The cat made a startled yowl but was quickly cut off by a chakra-infused poke to its vocal cords. "Cocky little shit," Naruto muttered quietly as he stuffed the struggling bundle into a bag brought along for the purpose. Been doing this for years and assumed that just because no one ever went after him as soon as he left his house, no one ever would. Hinata waved farewell to one of the actual estate guards, who'd been properly notified of their proactive efforts, though not the actual details of, and they left to set up part 2 of the plan. "Oh my sweet Snookums," Naruto cried, the enormous bosom of his transformed self shaking as he squeezed the cat until it literally couldn't breathe. "I've missed you so. Unfortunately, I've only heard the crazy lady a couple times so I have no idea what she usually says," he continued in the same breathless, loving tone of voice. "It's tone that matters when they don't understand words, so just keep doing that," Kiba advised. "And one of these days I will hurt you for peeing on it first." Naruto continued as if he was praising and loving the wet, stinking cat. "This is nasty as hell, Kiba." "Hey, you'll thank me if it manages to slip from your grasp," Kiba said dismissively. "With mine and Akamaru's scents on there, we could find it no matter where it went." "You will pay, Kiba Snookums, you will pay," Naruto the daimyo's wife promised. "I feel kind of bad about being mean to an animal, even if it is Tora," Sakura confessed. "I kind of like cats." She layered several minor genjutsu together, targeting the senses of the cat as best she was able. Genjutsu was usually linked to the senses of the caster, which made it easier to break by people who had unusual senses like sharpened smell or eyesight. Since no one but a Hyuga knew what a Hyuga saw the world as, genjutsu was basically useless against them. However, Sakura wasn't trying to fool the cat into believing it was the real world. She was simply assaulting its senses, and her skills were more than adequate for that. Tora would experience the accurately recreated effects of a pepper bomb to the face as experienced by a regular human. Accurately thanks to Sasuke, who'd won the Jankenpo contest and had gotten to be the one to nail her with it. Hinata called foul on account of the Sharingan, but was unable to make him give her the pepper bomb because he was just a little bit faster than her. Funny, you didn't seem to mind killing that pigeon, Naruto commented. Are you people ever going to let me forget the pigeon? Sakura demanded in frustration. Team Light took a moment to consider it. No, came the unanimous answer. Go get him, Akamaru. Go go go. Kiba cheered as he and Akamaru chased the cat. Akamaru kept up a steady stream of delighted barks. His coat red from the soldier pill Kiba had fed him earlier. It was rapidly turning black, however, since he was picking up the Kikai bugs that Tora managed to shake off in its madcap dash through the woods. They were polite guests and didn't bite or suck chakra from the dog. But the cat was yowling in pain and rapidly getting exhausted. And you see, now I'm marginally nicer to it, at first, Naruto explained, petting the exhausted, shivering cat resting in his transformed arms. A couple more times and I'll be even more cruel to it than she usually is, but it'll seem like such a paradise compared to what you're doing out there. Tora won't even notice. Easy on those Sweden blasts, Sasuke, Hinata chided. The object is not to kill it, merely to pain and inconvenience it, Shino agreed. Meh, worked didn't it? Sasuke replied. See, he's heading back to Naruto already. Indeed, the sore, drenched cat was staggering along to the one thing who'd proven consistently tolerable in the series of new hells it experienced every time it was away from her. We accomplish great things when we work together, don't we? Naruto said with a grin. So by the time we actually turned it in, the Tora was so freaked out that not only was he glad to see his owner again, she actually couldn't get him off her shoulders without prying and getting scratched, Sakura said with a laugh. It never ran away again, and we got a lot more interesting missions. They even started giving us C ranks. She paused. Though, Kurenai-sensei seemed kinda upset when she found out, and insisted we start tracking Team Light to see what kind of horrible people they really were. That was fun. I'll tell you about some of those later. Ah, Team 7 doesn't seem like such bad guys. Why is everyone so paranoid around them, anyway? Kiba asked, having been thoroughly entertained by the story. Because no one wants to get the same treatment as the cat, Shino replied. Huh, point I guess, Kiba admitted. There was a period of silence. Sue, are we gonna try and Tora the same way or what? Kiba asked hopefully. If you had to ask, you clearly were not paying attention to the story, Shino replied. What, the part where they never had to catch the cat again? Kiba asked. Yes, Kiba, Sakura said with a long-suffering sigh. Hey, you don't have to be so damned snide about it, Kiba complained to Shino. I swear, how is it I keep forgetting what a freaking jerk you are? Because, Kiba, Shino replied, you are dumb. You're not lifting the tip enough, Hinata calmly told Naruto. You're gonna cut yourself in a few moments. Naruto jabbed the tip of the kunai directly through the bone of the first joint of his index finger. Arg, now, see, that's not even close to being right, Hinata commented wryly. Naruto grimaced as he wiggled the kunai to get it out. Blood spurted and flowed freely, and he sent a surge of chakra through the area as he transformed into a version of himself that hadn't just gotten a kunai through the finger, effectively healing himself instantly. He glanced over at Sasuke. What? No comments from the peanut gallery. Sasuke shrugged, the kunai dancing through his fingers at blurring speed, his Sharingan spinning as he made sure he didn't repeat Naruto's flub. He was using the 1-2-3-4-5-4 method, sewing back and forth between his fingers. Naruto and Sasuke were both playing five-finger fillet with kunai as they all sat around the flickering evening campfire. Tazuna watched them silently, and occasionally took hits off a gourd of really powerful sake. Kakashi read his book and ignored them all. They were seated on several logs pulled up out of the woods by Naruto's clones earlier that night. Hinata had been training with powerful leg kicks against a tree trunk, a training method Naruto thoroughly approved of because it did wonderful things to her leg and butt muscles, but since both Naruto and Sasuke were getting the speed training wrong, she kept having to stop and make sure they didn't lose a finger. You're not even trying, Sasuke, Hinata said derisively. I'm going faster than Naruto, he replied. To get each touch, yes, but your movements aren't as fast. You're just more efficient because of the Sharingan. You'll never get speed if you don't start pushing yourself. Sasuke finally stopped and glared at her. You claim you're so good at this, Why don't you show us how it's done? So you can copy it? Hinata asked archly, a plan forming in her mind. Making him do it himself was actually why she hadn't demonstrated before, but maybe that was the wrong way to teach him a lesson. Alright, fine. She whipped out a kunai, spread her hand flat on the log Naruto sat on, and started stabbing between each finger using the 1-2-1-3-1-4 method. Her hands quickly blurred to the point only Sasuke's Sharingan could keep up with it, then stopped just as quickly. There, you happy? She demanded. Exuberant, he replied, and, armed with her slightly different technique, resumed his speed game. Lift the tip more, got it, Naruto said, thinking seriously about where he'd made the mistake. He was about to resume his own practice, but Hinata's hand on his shoulder stopped him. Huh? He asked, looking up. Arg, Sasuke complained as he drove the kunai through the side of his thumb. You bitch, you didn't give me all the movements. Hinata giggled, and Naruto laughed heartily. Sasuke rolled his eyes and started bandaging up his thumb, but there was a tiny smile tugging at his lips. Tazuna took a long drink. Neji cracked his knuckles inside his sleeves as he walked quietly through the halls of the Hyuga Manor on his way to breakfast. It was early morning, not even quite light yet, but he would be meeting his team for first light training in less than an hour. Hyuga Yaku, the eldest of the main clan, was coming the other direction. Damn, well, it had to come sometime. Neji schooled his face into a politely neutral expression, slid to one side to allow the elder by, and bowed politely. His seal activated with a burst of excruciating pain. He wobbled and would have fallen forward on his face, except he'd mentally prepared for the event and had his weight balanced. And just like that, the pain was gone, yet he was still gasping and shivering in reaction. So you are a true Hyuga, the elder said without inflection. Carry on. Yes, Yaku Dono, he gasped out, leaning against the wall for a moment as he waited for his legs to stop being made of jelly. When the elder had passed, Neji calmly straightened up, tapped a few pressure points on his temple to relieve the splitting headache that always followed activation of the seal, and resumed his journey towards breakfast. As he walked he mused whether or not he should have wanted Naruto's blood pact to remove the seal more than some sort of time vision. Well, he had plenty of reasons to be angry with the main family, but strangely, he didn't really have the heart to get really into soul-searing hatred anymore. After all, they now had Hinata to deal with. And that was going to, in the words of his own teammate, end in hilarity. Team Lai, their teacher, and their escortee strolled casually down the center of the road in broad daylight. The birds were chirping, it was bright and clear, the sun was shining, and there was just enough of a breeze to keep it from being hot. It was really a great day for travel. They stopped briefly after a mile and let Hinata raise her forehead protector to allow her eyes unfiltered access to the world. She formed a quick burst of seals to use a jutsu that extended her focus for a number of miles away from her body and scanned all around her, paying particular attention to the front and back. After a moment, she blinked, an old reflex from the time her ancestors couldn't actually see through their own eyelids, and raised one eyebrow. Then she dispelled. About a mile and a half back, the real Team Lai stopped as Hinata suddenly processed a flood of information. She looked up. You're never gonna believe this, but there's either a really subtle trap or the two dumbest mist ninja I've ever heard of in the road up ahead, she informed them seriously. What? Naruto asked. There's two shinobi, mid-20s, mist headband, lurking in a puddle in the road using some sort of hide in shallow water technique. The rest of the road is completely dry, and these two nin are just there. Like no one would notice. She gave a detailed description of their builds, appearance, and the chain gauntlets they wore on opposing arms. And there's no one else around? Naruto asked. Because it sounds like a trick. Notice the idiots in plain sight, get nailed by nin in the woods, or something. Nothing. I checked the ground for 100 meters down, the sky in all directions, and the trees and roads all around. Unless they're planning on using a summoning technique to get more reinforcements, they're alone, Hinata confirmed. Naruto blinked. Wow, I think we should probably go around. I've always heard mist ninja are batshit insane, and they couldn't possibly be stupid enough to do something like that and not have a trump card hidden. Hopefully they don't want anything to do with us anyway. Kakashi broke in. Naruto, you've been dealing with extremely intelligent people in Konoha for far too long. Just because they've made it as a ninja doesn't mean they can't be stupid or incompetent, and Mist tends to promote based on ferocity, not intelligence. It's as dangerous to overestimate an opponent as it is to underestimate one. He smiled. You've got to learn to tell the difference between unconventional genius and sheer stupidity. You wouldn't want to be one of those master planners who get foiled by some idiot stumbling through carefully constructed plans by virtue of making unexpectedly retarded-ass decisions every time, now would you? Team Lice stared at him silently for the better part of a minute, digesting his words. As one, they bowed deeply. No, Kakashi-sensei. We humbly apologize for our gross incompetence, sensei, they chorused. Sasuke smacked Naruto in the back of the head. Nice going, dumbass, he snapped. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Naruto said, bowing repeatedly. I will try harder. It won't happen again. Kakashi smiled indulgently. See that it doesn't. Yes, sensei, it won't, we promise. After a moment, Naruto turned to Tazuna. Hey, you wouldn't know anything about ninjas out to kill you, would you? He asked suddenly. Tazuna gulped, visibly growing nervous under 4 sets of eyes. Sweat beaded and rolled down his face, and he grew weak in the knees. Well, yes. You 3 have been out to kill me since we met, he said weakly. Naruto's glare bored into him for a full 20 seconds. He glanced at Hinata. She nodded. He's telling the truth as he sees it. Naruto glared at him some more. Tazuna nearly wet himself. Abruptly, Naruto grinned and slapped him on the arm, making him jump. Haha, we're not really gonna kill you, Tazuna-san. You're the client, after all. So let's go ask these Mist ninja what the hell they're doing out here spreading gross incompetence all over the nice clean dry road. He motioned at Sasuke and Hinata. Clones. Let's see if we can take them captive without getting hit. Naruto made enough clones for himself, Kakashi, and Tazuna. Sasuke and Hinata each made their own clone. Alright, Hinata, watch him, tell us how it goes. He sent their clone team ahead on the road, with them following a discreet distance behind, well far enough away to be outside the sense range of almost any ninja. Naruto also made a small army of first-generation clones for backup. In an emergency, they could quickly become a large army. Ahead of the real group, the clones were engaged in a heated discussion. Is Sensei lying? Sasuke clone wanted to know. Naruto clone looked bewildered and shrugged. I can't tell. Either we really were overthinking it, or he's setting us up for some sort of reverse fuck-up to teach some other lesson, or something in between. We're supposed to learn something about this, for damn sure. I can paralyze them as they come out of the water, if we're close enough, Hinata clone offered. That seems more like it should be a step 2, Naruto replied, thinking hard. Water conducts electricity, Sasuke noted. I can drop a wire in and around the puddle and stun them with a Raiden jutsu before they even come out. That should force them out and stagger them enough for Hinata to paralyze. Now that sounds good, Naruto agreed. I had been thinking exploding tag in the water, but a Raiden jutsu is quieter and cleaner. I'll have clones yank you out of the way and pile on as soon as you finish hitting them, Hinata. We don't want to get caught by some secondary trick. Hinata nodded as Naruto made more clones, his solution to basically everything. You got real wire? He asked as he passed 2 coils of heavy wire over to separate clones. Sasuke clone nodded. You didn't notice? He asked archly, implying incompetence on Naruto's part. Oh, shut up, Sasuke, Naruto grumbled. I can't watch every move you make and you know it. 1,000 meters to target, Hinata clone announced. They put their game faces on and made idle chit-chat, as if they really were just travelers, as they got close to the puddle. Naruto figured the ninja would strike just after their backs turned to the puddle, so he had Sasuke casually flick out a nearly invisible strand of wire into the puddle on the approach and hit it with his one-handed seal Raiden jutsu as soon as it touched. Sure enough, the water lit up with the powerful energy of Sasuke's electrical chakra, smoking and boiling in an instant. 2 mist shinobi lurched out of the water and began spasming uncontrollably, the electricity completely destroying their ability to move under their own power. Hinata swooped in, hands ablaze with chakra, and paralyzed them just as Sasuke cut off the Raiden technique. Second-gen Naruto clones yanked them out of danger, despite their only being clones themselves, and pounced on the 2 enemy ninja, quickly tying them up with strong, thick wire. The clone team spun in place, scanning for danger with all of their enhances senses, paranoid to the max as they searched for enemies hoping to capitalize on a moment of distraction following their victory. Nothing and no one rose to challenge them. "That's it?" Naruto asked. Hinata agreed, toning them in the side and shutting down more of their chakra network in the process. Sasuke looked bored. "We could have taken them when we were fresh out of the academy. Now it's kind of hilarious, yeah," Naruto admitted. "You see, students," Kakashi said as he walked up with their real selves. "You've got to remember that you're not expected to face S-class threats every mission anymore. Most normal missions can be nice and straightforward." He seemed inordinately happy. "Kakashi-san, are they dead?" Tazuna asked, nervously eyeing the two face-down mist ninja. "Don't," Naruto protested, then sighed. "Damn it. Tazuna-san, please, no names in front of the enemy. You just handed Kakashi-sensei's name to them for free." He made a subtle motion and all the surrounding clones silently moved off into the trees out of sight. Now, it's quite alright. At this point, it's reasonable to expect an actual ninja to recognize me. Give your old sensei a little credit, kids, Kakashi chided, flipping both of the paralyzed ninja over so he could stare down at their faces. "And no, Tazuna-san, they're not dead, but they will be in a few more minutes if Hinata-chan doesn't let them breathe." There was a pause, maybe 30-40 seconds long, where no one said anything or moved. "If you're waiting on me to say something," Tazuna announced, "I've already gotten in trouble for talking once. I'm staying out of it." "Ah, but Tazuna-san, sometimes, a little kindness goes a long way," Kakashi said with a smile, and tapped a few nerve junctions on the enemy ninjas' chests. With deep, ragged gasps, the two of them jerked and heaved, having been suffocated nearly into unconsciousness. They looked up to see a half-circle of faces, one of them the legendary ninja of 1,000 techniques, Copy Nin Kakashi, and the three ninja even younger than themselves who had nevertheless handed them their ass with a casual ease that spoke of power and control. One of them had an amused expression and something red and evil flickering in hungry eyes. Another had the Sharingan, thought nearly extinct but legendary in its danger, and the third was a small, dark girl with an empty expression and her hite ate over her eyes. "You, telling me to be kind to others?" Tazuna asked incredulously. "Huh, that's rich. But haven't you heard?" Naruto asked brightly. "Konoha is the home of nice, friendly, caring ninjas." That had, actually, been what Tazuna heard, and was why he'd gone to Konoha in the first place. Somehow he felt foolish at the memory. "So," Kakashi said louder than normal, instantly taking command of the situation. "I'm going to ask you a few questions. If I like the answers, I might let you go. If I don't like the answers, I might let my students ask the questions, and let me assure you, you want me asking the questions, right Naruto? I spent 5 years in torture and interrogation before they said I was getting old enough that the creep factor of being interrogated by a small child stopped being an issue and they made me move on to other things," Naruto supplied helpfully. "But I've got fond memories and a case of tools in my backpack, so show our leader some respect, alright? Even we don't get to give him shit, I'm damned if I'll let you." Kakashi smiled at the Kiri nins. "Who are you and why are you watching a road out here in the middle of nowhere?" The ninja with his nasty-looking metal gauntlet on the left gulped and nodded nervously. "Guzu of Hidden Mist, copy Ninja Kakashi-san," he replied extremely politely. "And this is my brother Maizu. We're, ninjas. Of Hidden Mist," the other brother added in a voice that quavered only a little bit. "Yes, so you say," Kakashi prodded. "And why are you out here watching this road?" The two brothers glanced at each other with twin looks of despair. "This is ordinarily where I'd make some sort of overt threat of serious harm," Naruto muttered, "but sometimes you have to be more gentle with genin. They tend to break if you push them too hard." Hey, Maizu complained, "We're chunin." All of the leaf ninja raised one eyebrow at them. We test well," Guzu explained weakly. "Huh," Naruto mused. "See, it's just like I was complaining the other day. When administration starts setting mandatory improvement goals with frequent testing, the teachers are just gonna teach the tests, and our new ninja are gonna come into the service with a serious lack of useful skills. Didn't I say that just the other day, Sasuke?" "Not even a passing reference," Sasuke denied. "See, that right there? What Sasuke just did?" Naruto asked his captive audience. "That skill, boys. Bet they didn't teach that in your fancy smancy, missed chunin exams." Please don't kill us, Guzu asked politely. Ahem, Kakashi said. We were looking for Kaijiryo Inomoto, a master mechanic from Stone Country who has a knack for improvising repair parts on marine engines. Those skills are highly valuable in Wave Country right now, so we were sent to meet and escort him to his new job site. I have to pee right now, Maizu blurted. He's lying, Hinata said quietly. We should spend some time on him to get real answers. No, I really do have to pee. The younger brother protested. Now, remember the terms of the treaty we have with Kirigakure, Kakashi reminded. We're not to use torture on ninja captured during the course of normal, non-competitive duties unless matters of extreme secrecy, national policy, they've captured one or more of our ninja first, or a monetary amount greater than 20,000 ryo is at stake, unless we really want to. I like the last part. Can we move on to that last part? Sasuke asked. Kakashi loomed over the two captured ninja. They blanched in terror, and he untied the wire binding their arms and legs together. We have an image to maintain as a kinder, gentler hidden village, Kakashi reminded them. Full of soulless assassins? Naruto asked, feeling somewhat disappointed. A kinder, gentler hidden village full of soulless assassins, Kakashi confirmed as he pulled the coils of wire away and allowed the brothers to sit up. We don't interfere with the missions and concerns of our rival villages unless they're committing injustices on someone or there's profit in it for us. And it's not like these two fine young chunin are here to kill anyone, right? He grinned at them. Right, Guzu agreed. Right. Maizu agreed as well after a sharp elbow to the ribs by his brother. Well, good luck finding your repairman, Kakashi said cheerfully, standing to his full height and stepping back as the two mist nin stood up. Neither of them looked anywhere close to Tazuna, and they moved with very slow, careful movements so as not to imply they were any kind of threat. Yes, copy nin Kakashi-san. Thank you, copy nin Kakashi-san. They chorused, repeatedly bowing low, eyes to the ground, as they backed away. And remember, Kakashi said just as cheerfully. If you turn out to be lying, I'll give you to my team. Hinata gets your eyes, Naruto couldn't resist adding. Cause, you know, she doesn't have any of her own. Show him, Hinata-chan. Hinata slid the forehead protector up, revealing the pooled void in her sockets. Oh God save us, Maizu said with a little scream. Show them the finger thing, Sasuke said, his expression becoming devious. The finger thing. Hinata brought her left index finger up to her eye, lightly resting the tip on the surface of the black sphere. Then, slowly, she started pushing her finger into the inky depths. It's coming out the other side. It's coming out the other side, Guzu said with a despairing wail, and retched onto the ground. Bye, Kakashi said with a cheerful wave as the two of them, each supporting the other, lurched into the relative sanctity of the forest. Huh, nice people, Naruto commented after they left. A little dim, but polite. And he wasn't lying about having to pee, Sasuke commented, amused at the little wet trail the fleeing mist nin had made. Kakashi smiled indulgently, and together they set off again. Tazuna cleared his throat. I'm going to hate myself for asking, but what was the finger thing? He asked hesitantly. I couldn't see it. Not that I want to see it. He added quickly. Hinata shrugged. A minor illusion I used to make my baby sister cry when she got too arrogant for her position. Oh, hey, speaking of that, have you used it on her, lately? Sasuke asked, hinting at their new situation. No, not yet. I'll let you know. Great. I can't wait to see that again for the first time. Tazuna shuddered. What a time to be out of booze. That's all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.